live on the internet.
The internet, eh?
We're just taking our data and just like pushing it through the tube.
Yeah.
Until it just blows out on people's laptops.
Yeah, are we pushing or are we like blowing hard on the tube to make it go?
Did you do the noise? Did you not have it muted?
I did. Well, hey, this is a new laptop, so I don't have it configured, man.
Is it amateur hour over there?
It is.
I'm so disappointed in you both.
Wait, is that a Lenovo?
This is a Lenovo. Yeah, I was going to talk about it a little bit in the pre-show. This is a Chromebook.
Oh, no thanks. I'm good.
Do you know what though? This is a new one.
This is a bougie Chromebook?
This is a high-end Chromebook, which to be 100% transparent. First off, real quick, you're live in the pre-show with Full Nerd. We're going to talk about PC-related topics here, but right now I'm going to talk about how I went to Lenovo's pre-brief before Computex. They showed us a bunch of stuff, and they were like, "Hey, do you want to check out this high-end Chromebook?" And I said, "That sounds like an oxymoron."
How'd that go?
Which, yeah, they didn't love that, but I was like,
wow,
yeah. And they were like, okay, cool, we'll go to the PC related stuff. And then, yeah, they were like, no, I think you might want to try this. And I was like, okay. And I'll tell you what, I am now 100% switched. Like I was like,
Chromebook pilled?
Not only is this laptop, I haven't used Chrome OS in a long time, so I guess I didn't realize, but I feel like it's the closest thing to like an Apple ecosystem thing. It's literally connected to my phone right now. I can do all my messages.
It's like an iPad.
I'm getting all my notifications on here as well at the same time.
Can you play Clash of Clans on that thing?
Yeah, I got GeForce Now loaded because I have an application for Chromebooks.
Brad's just sitting there nodding his head like a proud dad.
Yeah, no, I feel like I've been in the Chromebook dark for a while, and this laptop is pretty. Like I want to do a video on it of like this has converted me. It's like
questions. How premium are we talking about? We got touchscreen, 360 hinge,
OLED. There's OLED.
Yeah, so it's OLED touch.
Nice.
Well, they do have a version without touch. That's a little cheaper. I think it starts at $650.
Yeah, it's $650 for the base and $750 for the OLED fancy one with more storage.
Yeah.
$100 for a little bit more storage.
Well, it's not just storage; it's also more RAM. It's double the RAM. I think it goes from 8 to 16. It's got more storage. It's got touch. It is not 360. It's not even 180.
I could make
it's
that
about
360.
whatever that is. Yeah, I can try to make it. It's got a fingerprint sensor. It's got a nice little privacy shade on the webcam, like a physical shutter shade.
I mean that looks okay. Can you put Linux on that thing?
Probably, why not? You can put Linux on anything.
Yeah.
It's the year of Linux. You can do it if you want.
We actually, Ash, our laptop editor, actually reviewed that for the embargo. So Adam's saying it's sick. If you want to learn more, PCWorld.com.
Oh, yeah. What'd she give it? Did she hate it?
4.5, and an editor show she loved it.
Wow. Okay.
She's a Chromebook. She's been Chromebook pilled for a while. Having all the premium materials, having the OLED screen. This is the first Chromebook, because it has a new chip from MediaTek in it that can support some basic AI features like smart grouping, stuff like
NPU.
See, I kind of assumed that Chromebooks were like buying those jeans with the elastic waistband, like the stretchy sweatpants jeans for just when you give up.
So, listen, I thought that same exact thing. It really is. And then
it's super funny to hear you say all this.
Yeah, what's up, Elena?
I have a Gordon story about this.
Okay, please.
So when I was working at Maxim PC, it was like 2014, and he comes to me and he's got what looks like a laptop in his hands.
Oh no!
And he's like, "Have you seen this before?" And I was like, "Well, what are you talking about?" He's like, "It's a Chromebook." And I was like, "Well, what's that?" And he explains the concept to me, right? And you have to understand, like in 2014, everyone's using laptops. Your options are a Windows laptop and a MacBook, and I know there are people who put Linux on laptops at the time, but it was even smaller back then. So it was like those are really your two options. And so he's like, it's great. It's like, lightweight, stripped down. All you have to worry about is just the browser. And it's Gordon, so he's seeing all the positives to it. And
That's
my
unusual.
reaction is exactly new technology. He was actually always very bullish on.
True.
And
That's
my reaction over 10 years ago was exactly the same as yours right now, Adam, where I was like, what is this? Why would I want anything that's stripped down? Who would evangelize this? And then gradually I have become the editor that talks about how to install Chrome OS Flex on laptops. So it's funny to see everybody else make the same journey. and also think, oh, I probably now understand what Gordon's perspective was when we all were like, oh, what's that?
Like it definitely has been magic. I mean, I think the one thing that I haven't done on
You
it.
really say magic?
No, like I
Steve Jobs, what you got?
No, I expected it. I expected it to be down here.
Yeah.
And so it easily blew past my expectations.
I mean, that is the secret of overperforming is to have really low expectations all the time.
Well, but once again, it's not just the hardware. It's also I haven't used Chrome OS in a long time. And so I'm glad Ash reviewed it and feels the same way because, maybe I could have been completely off, alone on my own island. But I was not expecting to like it as much as I have, except for, listen, my needs have changed over time. I don't edit video, really anymore.
Yeah.
I do edit photos, and that's the one thing I haven't tried to do on here, and that's the one thing I think is going to fall flat because I use Photoshop. So I know. Yeah, we'll see how that goes. But yeah,
just use paint. Just use paint. It's okay.
Oh, that too.
Yeah. Oh, I don't want to talk about paint, man.
Yeah.
For not knowing how to do things without dedicated apps. There's all these like websites that'll do stuff for you.
Well, it's also weird because like I have a YouTube app, but then I also have YouTube running in Chrome as the application Chrome as well. So
Chrome are the same thing.
Well, but I can, because what I do like right now I could sign in on Chrome. Right now I think it's signed in under the full nerd profile, which is and then on the actual app itself I'm signed in under my personal profile because I usually try to like look at things a couple different ways.
Yeah.
So like that has actually been pretty nice. I don't know. Anyway, this is not the Chromebook hour. It just
it is now.
Yeah. I do really want to do a video of like, hey, I'm a convert.
The full Chromebook.
Yeah.
That would be a great video. And to anybody who hasn't checked out Chromebooks in a while, they actually work pretty well now. Like 95% of services have apps now. So it being a browser isn't a big deal. They've done a lot of work adding it so you can have Android and Linux app support. They've done work to like add RGB if you have models like that. The settings are a lot nicer now. Like when Chromebooks first came out, you could see the promise, but it was rough. Now it's like a slick version of that promise.
I was going to say, and also there's like Chromebooks have been around in education for long enough now that there's a whole generation of kids for whom the Chromebook is the computer and then they have a phone. And so there's probably actually a real consumer market for nice Chromebooks after 10 years of the Chromebook. Because like I think I got the first Chromebook in like 2007 or 2008 maybe when Google did that beta. And
yeah, they had Pixelbooks.
Yeah, and then they did the Pixelbooks after that, and like
I remember the Pixelbooks.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Well, I also think it's not just the generation of school kids that were raised on Chromebooks, but I also think that like the Pixelbooks were aimed at developers because I think they liked having a really lightweight, really easy to use platforms. In some ways, I actually thought that hardware was Google creating it for their own employees, basically.
They did a lot of that. And judging by the folks I knew over there at the time who had closets full of those things to hand out to everybody who hit the door.
Yeah. Those were nice.
Yeah.
I mean, like, and I think it's also hitting me different too because we've been talking so much lately about Linux and getting off Windows and alternate like
You're really
platforms.
That hinge there, buddy.
I know, right? Well, hey, you got to always be testing. That's what we say around here, right?
God.
Yeah.
Please stop.
So like I'm definitely in that mode of like, hey, could I see my life without Windows? And we're obviously talking a lot about Linux because it is the year of Linux. I haven't heard anybody say this is the year of Chrome OS, but trying this out, I was like, okay, like this is actually pretty good. So yeah. Anyway,
anytime you have to say this is actually okay is not a good sign, though.
Can you guys do the actually thing?
Is
They should.
Oh, no, sorry. It's the should thing.
Yeah.
Sorry,
we can do it actually too.
Actually.
Yeah.
I think Adam should
actually
be running Linux on a laptop.
I do want to test this.
Please stop.
You don't like it?
Please stop.
You don't like that?
Please stop.
Thank you.
Incredibly uncomfortable.
I was dying.
Dude, you got to test it, man.
I can't wait until next week when Adam's like, man, this laptop was pretty good, but the display stopped working. I don't have any idea why.
We'd always be testing. We have to,
really weird.
That's our job here is to push the limits, right?
Sweet mother, Adam.
Please don't do this in every show we go to.
I was gonna say the whole point of this was saying that Chrome OS is based on Linux. If I remember right.
Yeah, it is.
Is it? Yeah. So
technically,
so this is the year of Linux.
So it fits into the year of Linux.
Okay,
as the many Linux users will tell you, Android already runs the world, so they already won. It's already been the year of Linux since whenever we got to so many I don't care. This is how we pronounce it in the Bay Area. I'm not changing it.
Yeah. Anyway, hello, we're here.
Hey.
This is the fun chart. This is the pre-show. If we can move the camera a little bit, I feel like I'm not centered in the frame.
I often find you not centered.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. Yeah, I got to center myself.
I can scooch over more so you can come over a little bit. But.
Like pan. What is it?
Like
left camera left. Yeah, there we go.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, we have an intern. I'll introduce them at the actual show. But yeah, we're here. We made it. We have. We're going to talk about some stuff. We got some exclusive news.
Hot news.
I say exclusive not because we got the exclusive, but I checked this morning and nobody else wrote it up. So Brad, I forgot to send you all that information. So
you did.
I'm sorry. So we were first out of the gates. Whoops, my bad.
No, that works out.
We still have time. We still have time.
I don't have to write anything. So
yeah, no, we still have time. Nobody else has written anything. So you're getting some exclusive information here first that nobody else is talking about. And then we're going to talk about some other stuff. Will's testing, always be testing. The clean install of Windows. Now you'll have to do a year-old version of Linux to see how it performs against
Phase
the clean
1 run Linux for a year. Phase 2 run benchmarks on it.
There you go. Yeah.
Unfortunately, my Windows install died, so I can't do more.
Wait, the one you just did?
No, the dirty install.
Oh, the dirty install.
Look, my Linux installation
Was it
misadventures. No, look. So I installed Linux, and it's possible that in the process of getting the boot manager working right, I made 2 UEFI partitions that Windows didn't exactly know what to do with when it did a big update. So every time it would run that update, it would then fail the update and then roll back, and then eventually got corrupted. And I had to
it's you. You're the problem.
I'm the problem. It's me.
Yep, knew it.
Yeah.
Knew it. Called it. Cool. All right. We should get going.
Yeah,
how the hamsters?
Hamsters are rolling. I got everything rolling.
Is that the sound a hamster makes?
I don't have anything to read, right?
No.
Okay.
You don't got to read anything. Do you know how to read?
Yeah.
Okay, because I don't.
Hey.
Somebody needs
You're
to.
a video guy.
I'm a video
I used to
guy.
make words for a living.
Yeah. No, you can write, but that doesn't necessarily mean you know how to read.
I think it'd be hard to write if you didn't know how to read.
Are you sure about that?
I don't know. Ask an editor.
I mean, he keeps talking about how he predates this or that, so there was an era before we could do voice dictation.
When I was in elementary school, we were just chiseling cuneiform into clay tablets, and
Dave says I'm spicy today. It's true.
Yeah, we're all spicy today.
Something about
you gotta have something to fill the hours with when there's no news.
Yeah, we're in the summer months, but we got summer games, so we'll talk about summer games anyway.
Oh yeah,
Will's you ready?
Ready.
And we got
ready.
the music back too.
Yeah, I know.
So excited.
Loving it.
All right. Well, I got to go over my notes because I actually wrote some. And all right,
Okay, go for it.
here we go. In this episode of the Full Nerd, Sony and AMD take on NVIDIA. Oh, and what was the other? Oh, God.
Nailed it. You always forget.
Here we go. Take two and cut. Just kidding. In this episode of the Full Nerd, okay, here we go. One more time. Take 3. Third time is the charm, and here we go. In this episode of the Full Nerd, AMD and Sony take on NVIDIA. Will tests a clean version of Windows, and the Steam Summer Sale is here to fill all your boring hours. Empty hours, boring hours. I tried.
Leisure hours.
We got recommendations.
Leisure.
Yeah.
And welcome everyone to episode 354 of the Full Nerd Podcast, the universe's best podcast about PC building, PC news, PC hardware, all that fun kind of stuff. I am your fill-in host, Adam Patrick Murray, but I am not alone. We have 5 people sitting around here. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Actually, 6 people. I don't know how to count. I'm going to start on the screen because we got 2 people in the screen. First up is my co-host, Brad Charkis. Hello, Brad.
How's it going, yo? Hello, Internet.
You have a ring on. I would like you to show off the ring to the camera, please.
Oh, it's on the wrong finger for that. But
Yeah.
Hold on.
that's my new fantasy football championship ring that I just got.
I am highly jealous of that ring.
We should
I'm playing,
describe this. for the audio listeners because it is a thing of beauty.
It's big.
Oh, it's huge. It's honking. I guess it costs something over like $150. It's like full gold plated, a big solid ring with the.
I mean, if you hit somebody with that, they're gonna feel it.
Yeah, it's gonna cause lacerations.
Solid inch and a half square. I swear.
I'm friends with a pretty decently sized upper New England area reggae rock group, and I play in their fantasy football league, and I won it last year. So this weekend they were headlining an event in the town, called me over, presented me with the championship ring.
That's amazing.
Oh, nice.
I told them I'd wear it on the show.
Sweet. Well, Elena Yee, what is the biggest ring you own?
I don't wear rings, so definitely at least a quarter of that size.
So Brad has you beat.
Oh, 100%. I actually messaged him privately in like Slack because I was like, dude, what a ring.
What a ring. Yeah, I like it. Will, you don't seem like a jewelry kind of guy.
I have hand problems from years of typing, so I don't wear hand rings.
See, there's your problem. You shouldn't be writing
I
on the
need more
internet.
rings. That's it. Making words has pained me.
Yeah.
It causes me a great deal of suffering.
Yeah, suffering and pain.
Yeah, but no, I have a wedding ring, but I'm working in shops. I got scared of.
You don't do the silicon ones?
The people who worked in shops with me introduced me to the concept of degloving, which you should not Google. And then I was like, I'm never, ever going to wear hand jewelry around machinery again. And even now that I don't really work around machinery anymore, it's just the habit stuck.
Have you ever seen it happen to somebody?
No.
It's
terrifying.
Look, there's two.
Wait, have you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to work in factories for a long time.
Oh, no.
Dude, it's bad. It seems like it would be fun, but no. Actually, it doesn't seem like it would be fun either.
No, I mean, anyway, we're going to move on because I don't even want to think about this anymore. Willis Lai, please bring up the mood in the room.
Alrighty. Hello, everyone. Happy July. Adam, can you please kindly introduce our amazing intern here, please?
we have a new intern here showing up on the show for the first time. This is Glenn Ung. Say hello, Glenn.
Hello, Internet. It's actually Glenn Ma, but...
Glenn Ma.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's
crap.
okay.
Well, I'm sorry.
It's a long story.
Yeah, long story.
Yeah, I'll be getting the coffee for
which
everybody.
I should have known. Yeah. Glenn. For those who might not know, this is Gordon's son, who is an amazing photographer. But he also knows how to build computers. He's a nerd in his own right. He plays video games way better than I do. But that's also because he's half my age. So
Not a professional though.
He is a professional. But yeah, no. Thanks for stopping by, Glenn. It's like a live studio audience here. Usually we're just kind of BSing with each other, but it's nice to have somebody else here to BS at.
I'll make sure to clap very loud for everybody.
There you go. Nice.
Loud
Well,
soundtrack in the back.
I think
Glad to
Glenn.
have you, Glenn.
Yeah, Glenn's
Yeah,
excited.
100%.
We got some fun topics here. Before we get into the meat of it, though, I got a package that was waiting for me.
What'd you got?
A package that was waiting for me. I had a GPU. Which is not that weird because I do get a lot of GPU packages. But this one came straight from Taiwan. This is a GPU that you can't get in the United States right now. It's the AMD Radeon RX 9070 GRE, which used to be Golden Rabbit Edition, right? Was that?
Yeah.
Yeah. But now it's Great Radeon Edition or something like that. Is that what it's?
Yes.
Is that what they call it now?
Is this the year of the rat?
Yep.
Or no, snake.
Yeah, so this is a Sapphire Pulse
Snake,
version. Somebody, a friend of the show, was like, "Oh, hey, do you want me to pick you up a GPU and send it your way?" And I said, "Yes, please." So look for some testing on this. Brad, do you think this thing's going to come out in the U.S. anytime?
It might in a year or two, or if NVIDIA's super rumors come out and they need to Radeon needs to redo their stack, then it might come out around then. I would expect to see it at some point, just like all the other ones. It just takes a year or so typically.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like they're in a spot where if there's a hole in the product lineup, this is how they fill them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm excited to try it out. Hey, GPUs, they still keep coming, and I'm curious to see how this one performs, even though it might not be out in the U.S. We have a lot of international people that might be able to get their hands on it. So
yeah,
bringing you the hot
excited.
news.
Yeah. This one is exclusively Asia only, right? In Asia or
yes,
can European?
I don't think it's
get
European. No. Brad, do you know? I think it's just Asian countries. Yeah.
I believe it's Asian to start.
Yeah. So anyway, let's get on to some news because we have a hot exclusive, and once again, not because we were the only ones there, but because nobody else wrote up about it that I saw. So, yeah,
I was thinking too.
Yeah, I attended a dinner last week. I was invited by AMD and Sony to attend a dinner. Let me paint you a word picture of the people that were there, and they said, "Hey, we're going to talk about Project Amethyst." So if you don't know, Project Amethyst is the partnership between Sony and AMD, not only for hardware, future hardware, and obviously AMD powers the home console for Sony as well, but also working together for machine learning and kind of the software side of it as well, which is what I was excited to hear.
Is Project Amethyst the same? Like, is this an ongoing project, or do they do a new one for each generation of console?
No, this is brand new, and it's Amethyst because it's Sony blue and AMD red makes Amethyst.
I don't like this.
Purple, whatever.
It's like when they changed the Disney Plus logo to mix the blue from Disney Plus and the green from Hulu. And now it's just kind of a sad teal.
It's nice. Well, yeah, so it was a dinner here in San Francisco. There was some fellow journalists there, so we had IGN, we had PC Gamer, Wes Fenlon, friend of the show, PC Gamer. We had Notebook Check, we had CNET, and then us. I was there, and then for the representatives, we had Jack Hune from AMD, which is a high-level AMD guy. I don't remember his exact title off the top of my head.
He's the Radeon chief.
Yeah. And then from the Sony side was Mark Cerny, kind of the chief technological person over there.
Yeah, he's there. I think he calls him there. They call him his PlayStation architect, I think is his technical term.
Yeah. But I mean, somebody who has been in the industry for a long time. This is my first time chatting with him. And then
he's also the creator of Knack, if I recall.
Yeah, there you go.
That's another Mark Cerny jam.
Perfect. And then other people from the team as well. Let's see, Jeff Connell from AMD, who runs the semi-custom hardware division. There's another guy from Sony that I actually forgot to write down some names, and then a couple of handlers. So, yeah, it was a good dinner, but they said, hey, listen, everything's on the record. We're here to just talk about the partnership, ask any questions you want. And there were a lot of good questions, but they wanted to kind of start off first talking about the partnership and what it means to them. From a high level, I will say that Mark Cerny was saying, for background, they realized in around 2020 timeframe that, hey, machine learning is going to be the future and they need to start working on that. Obviously, we know that they have launched the PSSR, the PlayStation Super
sampling resolution.
I don't think it's I don't remember.
PlayStation Super Resolution.
Is it? Yeah. Okay. So
has an unfortunate acronym.
Yeah. So and that's for the PlayStation consoles. But hey, guess what? AMD at the same time was working on FSR, and the vibe I got, they didn't say word for word, but the vibe I got is that at some point they realized, hey, you know what? We should be working together. And TLDR at the high level, once again, they didn't say this in their words. This is my words. The vibe that I got was, hey, AMD and the power of AMD engineers and the power of Sony engineers getting together to work on machine learning upscaling, which both of them believe is a very big part of the future of consoles and PC as well, is what's going to help take on NVIDIA. Because we've all known that, like, hey, NVIDIA's kind of led the way in this machine learning stuff, and AMD is kind of lagged behind a little bit. But now with FSR4 launch, people are like, oh wow, they're really caught up. And
one of the things that, just speaking about NVIDIA being ahead, one thing that jumped out to me from what you said so far is that AMD and Sony started talking about this in 2020. Because the RTX 20 series came out in 2018. So NVIDIA did have a big jump on them. So.
Well, so just to correct that a little bit, so 2020 is when Sony said they realized that this is going to be a major part, and that it seems to be that's probably when they were starting to think about the PlayStation 5 Pro. But really their partnership began in early 2023 is what they said, where they said, hey, you know what, we should work together. And they said, I got to check my notes because I have 4 pages of notes here. It's a team of 300 people worldwide, consisting of both AMD and Sony engineers, and they're all working towards the same goal of machine learning. And this is not exclusive to the console. This is not exclusive to Sony either. somebody did ask the question, hey, could Microsoft go and take this work for, whatever next console they're working on? And I think Mark Cerny's direct quote was, this technology will work on any AMD hardware. And then Jack, of course, is a huge PC gamer, loves that, wants to push the PC forward. And they did say, and I think they disclosed this before, but some of this work, or a majority of this work, also went into FSR4 that we're able to enjoy now on the new Radeon 9000 series. So like they are working together for the betterment of everything, which was kind of cool, because I would have thought Sony was just like, nah, we want to better our thing. But I think they also found out through PSSR that it's not easy. And hey, why don't we work with the AMD, because they've got the server infrastructure, they've got all the hardware, we know a lot about the software and what developers want, all that kind of thing. So it really does feel like this is a partnership, not just in name only, because obviously AMD's been in past PlayStations.
It's interesting, yeah, because like if you look at the other competitors here, NVIDIA has both data and has both hardware that they're selling, and then also has the data centers to do the training, to build the models, to do the upscaling and the frame gen and all that stuff. Microsoft's in the same boat, right? They have Azure, they have a huge compute cloud where they can do training. They have the hardware that they're licensing from AMD as well, and they can do their own thing. Sony doesn't have a lot of compute on hand, right? That's the feeling I get.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah, so I know. And they did call that out specifically, like, hey, we're able to use, the. Let me see if there's a quote, but yeah, like directly use their actual like hardware, the AMD based servers that they have, which is I'm sure a big eye opening thing for them.
Did they talk about this stuff coming to TVs as well? Because it seems like good AI upscaling on TVs is an opportunity for somebody, whoever does it first.
I mean, and anytime anyone asks like where this could be benefited, the answer was, hey, anywhere that AMD hardware is being run. So like it
one of those.
Which I mean, it is one of those things of like, hey, we're not going to come out and be like, oh yeah, FSR is coming to Xbox, because that's a whole separate partnership. But I will say, part of this announcement today, and this doesn't apply necessarily to PC gamers, but the PlayStation 5 Pro is going to get patched to work with FSR 4. So they said later this year, cool. FSR 4 coming to the PlayStation 5 Pro, or getting in developers' hands, and then you'll probably start seeing FSR 4 being implemented in games next year. And they said specifically the PlayStation 5 Pro, that the original PlayStation 5 doesn't have enough like tops to kind of power what they're looking for. So if you're a professional PlayStation 5 owner, then FSR 4 seems to be the future over there. So
that's really cool. If FSR 4 starts getting adopted more widely, because it's being used in the consoles, then that's nothing but good things for us on the PC side. So
well, and I mean, I got to thinking too, because I was like, it's not just for consoles. Like same thing applies for the other place that AMD has a huge stronghold in, and that's handheld gaming, right? Like like all of this AMD stuff. Obviously we need to get the hardware caught up, with being able to have the capabilities for the software stuff, but like, I mean, we all benefit of it, and I think that is where they can take on NVIDIA, is to say, hey, NVIDIA, sure, they have a stronghold on PC gaming, both on the desktop and the laptop, just by pure market share. But AMD, they've got consoles. I mean, not the Switch, obviously. NVIDIA's over on the Switch, but they got the other consoles. They've got handhelds. These are awesome laptop chips. Even though Jack has pointed out, hey, we're focusing on the desktop and low power processors and things like that for now.
Did you get any hint from them about like next gen console? Like, are they targeting 4K still for next gen consoles?
And any question about future hardware was met with, we're not talking about future hardware right now. So
good talk.
Yeah, yeah. So there were questions, but really they were saying, hey, either way, to not talk about future hardware, but we can come out and definitively say the future of whatever any of this looks like definitely has a big machine learning based tint to it. They said pure performance, pure the actual like producing of chips is just going to get more expensive.
Yeah.
It's going to be harder to produce. They're going to be bigger, faster, hotter. And hey, we're going to have to learn how to use tools like machine learning to be able to get more performance out of stuff in different ways. So. Yeah, and they said, as of right now, obviously FSR4 and PSSR is very much based around super resolution, so upscaling. But they said they're definitely looking into, the frame generation, temporal-based frame generation, all that kind of stuff. Like it's all on the table. They seem to be very excited about it.
I love it because, as Will was saying, man, Microsoft and NVIDIA are probably those two companies' biggest competitors, and they are both massive, and they both have very deep inroads into PC gaming. So AMD and Sony PlayStation division especially are both no slouches whatsoever when it comes to gaming, but NVIDIA and Microsoft seem like giants. So to see AMD PlayStation teaming up, I think this is cool.
And we even have a comment in here. A friend of the show, Steven Anderson, says AMD plays follow the leader. Which, for the most part, technologically, they don't have the deep pockets of an NVIDIA research team, doing all this crazy stuff. But once again, this really feels like with these two teams like teaming up, like this feels like something that could really benefit and change the game.
Did they, when they were talking? I know it's early because it's the initial announcement. Did they give any hints for how they see this influencing the current landscape? Because for me, when I'm listening to all of this news, maybe not so much applicable to PC gaming, except on the handheld side, but this does seem like in what the allusion you made to the whole, like it's getting more expensive to create, new hardware, that this is actually going to help with longevity for consoles. So I wonder if that's going to affect the cycles for console hardware releases and how long you can be supported on that console for current gen games, right? So I wonder if they're actually trying to expand their ecosystem so that it makes it a little less also difficult on the developer side. This is kind of a question for you, Will. Like, would this help make the development a little easier because you don't have to worry so much about like really tuning it for that older hardware just to make it playable at, native res?
So I think the dream for the hardware manufacturers is to never have to make one set of hardware that they never have to sell new hardware for again, because they spend billions of dollars developing the hardware with their partners, and then they have to amortize that cost out over, like, they either have to decide to sell the machines for $500 like Nintendo did with the Switch 2 in order to not lose money, or they have to figure out how many units they're going to sell and like that, like in order to how much of a hit they can take on those sales in order to make a good business decision for their units. And like Microsoft was in a position where they were able to hemorrhage money with the Xbox division for a decade almost, while Sony doesn't have that kind of, like, Sony's not that big a company. Like Sony's a huge company in a lot of ways, but in a more immediate way, Sony and Nintendo are much smaller than Microsoft in terms of like the amount of money they have to spend and the kind of size of their teams and stuff. So it's really important that they've proven over the last decade that it doesn't matter that Microsoft is enormous and is a juggernaut, is willing to spend a ton of money, because if you have the games that people want to buy, then they just come to your platform, and it kind of doesn't matter. They've consistently led the last two generations, and I think this just is them saying, hey, what if the next console is the last one we have to make as long as TVs are still 4K, right? And I think having FSR or AI upscaling and AI frame gen and stuff like that gives you additional overhead that will help make that happen, probably.
Okay. So, I mean, this is kind of an alternate angle on answering my question, because I think you're coming at from the business company perspective, and I'm coming at it from the consumer perspective. But ultimately, it's kind of aligned, right? So, like, companies slowing down their role, or even as you possibly predict, with only trying to make this, like as you said, last hardware generation for console, that actually in some ways is beneficial to the consumers as well, because that means they don't have to go out and spend another 5, 7, whatever the money it would cost as those hardware prices go up.
Well, and when you're a developer and you're sketching out your game, you figure out what your game is, you look at what you figure out what your min spec is, depending on what size. Like if you're an indie studio, you just go out and make your game because you don't have people to think about this. If you're Ubisoft and you're like, hey, we want to switch to a new engine for Assassin's Creed, a game that they want to sell a bazillion copies of, they look at what their min spec target is, and they're going to be like, okay, this is now an Xbox Series X or PS5 launch or Switch 2 or Steam Deck game. Like those are our min spec targets across the board, and then they build out everything with those targets in mind. And when they are placing stuff in the world, when they're choosing what they can do with their shaders and all the different stuff, probably that Steam Deck is the most important thing on the list if they care about PC or PS5.
We kind of talked about this a little bit last week, which I had already had that dinner, but the information was embargoed today. But like that's why I also feel like it's in a lot of people's best interest, and of course AMD, if they solidify a lot of these platforms around the same common structure, like the Z series of chips, right? So it's like, hey, if you know that the handheld gaming PC, a laptop, a console has this Z series of processors, then that's the min spec, So yes, you kind of lose having a custom solution in a console, but you gain having it more widespread and usable in a lot of places, and so that developers, can kind of target a series of chips rather than, I got to target console, then I got to target PC, then I got to target Steam Deck, kind of thing.
It's funny because we had a comment that actually said that you had the right of it and that Will and I were completely off base. And it took me a little bit to understand how they were classifying because I think I actually a little bit misunderstood what you had been saying last week, because I thought you had been saying that this would be kind of the new approach overall, but you were saying basically that they were basically going to take the console concept and spread it wider, right? You're basically taking set hardware, but instead of having it branded under Microsoft and Sony, now you're just kind of democratizing that so that everyone has access to that hardware, and then you can do with it what you will. I do think that will introduce more chaos because it's not going to be as tightly locked down, just because you're going to have more people touching it. That's just how it kind of goes, in my opinion. But it is an interesting concept. I do wonder too that I wonder how well this will be adopted, because I know on the PC side, it's like the eternal comment that we get whenever we talk about upscaling. People are like, we don't want fake frames. There's always somebody who says that. Sometimes many somebodies who say that in the comments. But when they first talked about checkerboarding and upscaling and all that on the console side, like people were talking about, and all the console gamers were like, cool, does it play the way I want it to? Fine by me. If I don't have to pay extra $300 for the hardware, I'm good with that. I just want to play Call of Duty, man. Yeah. I just want to play Assassin's Creed. FIFA. I just want to play Battlefield.
Or I guess not FIFA.
FIFA too,
FIFA,
that's huge.
One of the things that shocked
Madden,
me
whatever.
Working on the console stuff more is how sensitive the console people are to frame rate. Like, we're used to frame rates being variable and a thing that we can adjust based on our preferences, based on settings panes. But if you have a console game that rolls out and it's not running 60 hertz on whatever the current top gen hardware is, and it's like a competitive multiplayer game or even a co-op multiplayer game, people lose their damn minds. They get crazy about it. And it's not that they want average 60, it's they want 60 locked with no sags and no spikes. And then it's your problem to make that happen.
Which is good, though, because in console generations past, like 30 was the was
for
essentially
single player
the
stuff,
standard.
it's still 30. But
but I mean, like Sony came out a couple months ago with like, oh hey, here our data shows that people are picking performance modes over quality modes.
Yeah,
that people actually want locked 60 versus locked 30 on the console space, which is good. Like that's definitely brings
Did you ask
up
about
all those,
smooth 40s?
Well,
oh boy.
No, actually, we did talk about more, of the actual hardware. Not only in relation to, hey, FSR4 coming to PlayStation 5 Pro, but like the PlayStation 5 Pro does have a semi-custom chip right now, which essentially has like Zen 2 CPU cores mixed in with RDNA 4 GPU cores and then RDNA 5 machine learning cores. So it's like literally just like this mishmash of stuff, which is actually somewhat similar to some of the other chips that AMD has in their thing. And Mark Cerny, which he's literally the architect of the PlayStation stuff. He was like,
I'm so jealous. He's like one of the smartest guys around. I would love to talk to him.
But he was so chill. He was not like, mean about it or anything. And or not mean, but like, he was very much just like a normal dude. Like he knows so much more than I'll ever know. But he was saying, hey, you know what? These Zen 2 based CPU cores, these are fine for he's like, these aren't, that's not the problem right now. We need more hardware that will accelerate machine learning capabilities. Like sure, the GPU, can get up to, like the actual GPU rendering cores and stuff could use more grunt as well. But he's like, really what we need more now is like machine learning, hardware in there. So like, and that's kind of the strategy AMD has had with their Z series of processors. Like if you look down at the Z2 Go, that literally has Zen 2 CPU cores. So it's that same kind of thing. And I think that's just that seems to be, I'm starting to see like everything kind of mold in this potential future.
And the nice thing about the ML stuff in this case is that it gives developers easier levers to let players turn to do those performance modes versus the quality modes, so that if you want to have your farm to table natively rendered pixels running at 24 frames a second, you can do that, or 30 frames a second, you could do that. But if you want more frames, then you just flip the AI upscaling business on, and all of a sudden you're running a smooth 60 or 120 or whatever you're looking for. It's also the other thing I want to, like, you hit on an important thing here, which is, as long as the architectures for handheld mobile PC and console and PlayStation and Xbox are all based on the same basic AMD architectures, even if they're potato heading together different bits combos of CPU and NPU and GPU and all that into different APUs, like that rising tide still lifts all the ships, because it means that if I'm a developer and I want to port my game from the PlayStation to the Xbox, instead of having to rebuild for a completely different architecture and different chip structure, I just have to, remove my hooks from Steam. Like I build basically I build interface hooks for the different platforms, and then hook those APIs the different platforms provide with their SDKs in, and recompile for the other platforms, rather than having to like rewrite my renderer for another architecture, which is much more expensive. Like that's where we were with the PS3 era versus the Power PC that was in the Xbox 360. And doing a port then was like a 6-month project for a whole buttload of graphics engineers, like the most expensive people on your team, versus, hey, our engineering for like hooking in the API. If you set up your game right, then and you build it to be multi-platform, it's much less expensive.
Well, quick question. I'm just going to dive right in here before Adam says what I can see his thinking face on before he says his comment. How much of this drive towards machine learning do you think is also inspired, requested, driven, whatever word you want to use, by talks with their partners, their game developer partners, right? Because cost of game development has just gotten so high, because so much it's basically like movie making now, right? Like all the studios are just pouring all these resources into these huge blockbuster games. Yeah. It's kind of not a great cycle, because it is creating such a high bar financially to have to cross in order to break even. And I'm wondering, does this help reduce enough of that overhead so that it could free up development for like newer IP, or allow more indies to breathe? Like, I'm kind of curious your take on that side of it.
I think it makes one of the harder parts at the end of the process a little bit more manageable. Because it does give developers the freedom to say, hey, we're not going to we're not going to worry about this and go through this frame at a time and figure out what's going on. We're just going to flip on FSR. I think that's a bad way to look at it, though. I think in reality, I think that these are just tools in the toolbox. It's like anything else, right?
Okay.
Well, I think in reality, this is being driven by the fact that modern cutting edge hardware, especially GPUs, is incredibly expensive and approaching the end of its version of Moore's law. And I think tools like these are how we propel beyond that. And that would be my guess where this is coming.
And like if you look at a console that's supposed to sit in your living room, our expectations for things like noise and heat generation from those have changed dramatically from, say, the Xbox 360 and PS3 generation when you've turned on either of those and it sounded like a jet turbine.
Oh yeah.
So like if you're not going to put a 1600 watt power supply, a 1600 watt machine in your living room. That's just not going to happen. So if
actually,
okay, you might, but like they're not going to sell those for a whole multitude of reasons. But mainly they'll trip the breakers on people's TVs when the TV and the console are on at the same time. So
Yep. And that's one of the cool things about frame gen FSR4, upscaling, is that this stuff actually brings energy costs down. So it actually makes it quieter.
Well, did you see that NVIDIA had a release that they reduced the memory requirements for frame gen, I think last week? Was that last week or yesterday?
I haven't played with it, but I think it was yesterday.
But no, it was a plugin that the developer has to implement.
When you're doing it. But like still, like I guess there's still overhead and room to improve on this stuff. And one of the neat things about the ML upsampling and the ML frame gen stuff is that it gets better as the models get better too. So it's in the same way that we had when we added full programmable shader pipelines. All of a sudden, you weren't waiting on new hardware to figure out how to add new graphical effects. You just had to write a different shader program that was efficient enough to run your hardware you have. Now, by adding these general purpose machine learning acceleration stuff, as the models get better off of your card, they can dump new models in a new driver, ship new models with new games, and you'll have better results than you would have otherwise.
And you can play with that right now, right? You can go into
the convolutional
Cyberpunk
versus,
and be like, hey, you know what? You get to pick CNN or Transform, or you get to look at it yourself. Which is really cool. But back to the tool thing real quick. Gordon would be very proud of me because I did ask a very Gordon-esque question to Mark Cerny. I was like, hey, listen, all this. There's a lot of people out there who want their farm to pixel or farm to table pixels, and hate upscaling and frame gen and all that stuff. Like what would you say to those people?
I bet he said, "Get out of here, you YouTube nerd."
I literally said, like, what would you say to those people? Knowing that this is going to be a big part of the future. And Jack from AMD. I asked this towards Mark because I think I've probably asked this to Jack before.
Jack dive in front of the bullet there.
Well, so Jack. I think Jack's used to my BS. So he kind of he kind of knew to expect something like that. This is the first time I've ever talked to Mark, been in a room with Mark, and maybe he doesn't get these kind of questions from the console people, but he just kind of stared at me and he's like,
do people care about this?
No, it was more like, well, yeah, like what would I say to it? He essentially once he kind of not that he stumbled, he was just like. He's like, I don't know, what do you say to those kind of people?
Is it like these people are obviously cranks and they're not to be acknowledged?
Yeah, where like he's like, dude, I'm way over here. These people are over here. How do I even talk to those people? No, but and then when he did kind of formulate something, he said, listen, choice for gamers is a wonderful thing. What they're trying to do. His goals are to give developers tools to implement. At the end of the day, it's however the developer wants to implement those tools. If they want to go, push, pure raster, go for it. Have fun. If you want to mess around with, machine learning based upscaling stuff, we're giving you those tools as well. So, they kind of push it on the developers a little bit, but for the most part, he's just like, these are all tools, and we're just here to help the developers kind of make their best choices for what they want to do.
When you started your car after that, did you leave the door open just in case they'd come out and done a little work on you?
I did check my gas cap, make sure that was on.
Always start the car with the door open. That's what I understand. And then you get blown clear.
Wait, what?
Yeah, right. You don't do that.
That's the strategy.
I don't know this. I don't know this reference.
This was Gordon told me this one.
Am I innocent?
He's like, if you think people are after you, then you always start the car with the door open.
Glenn, did you experience this?
Did he tell you this? No, okay.
Wait,
talked.
I still don't understand the reference. There's obviously something.
In case there's a bomb in the car.
Car bombs.
Yeah.
Yeah, you turn on the car and it blows up.
Watch
but
Godfather,
why is leaving the door open?
You get blasted clean. The shockwave's going to push you out. So at least they can recover the body.
Or in pieces.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This didn't come up a lot at home, I guess.
He mentioned that when he was a reporter, he would do a lot of stories that would kind of get him in some trouble, he thought. And whenever he would get a package, he would go next to his boss and stand next to his boss and open the
I did hear this story.
Yeah, that's
as his boss, I loved hearing that story.
Hey, at least you lived through 2,000 miles away. He would sit next to my desk when I was his boss.
Well, I mean, listen.
Wouldn't you want to check your brake lines to make sure they're not cut before you check for a bomb? I feel like cutting your brake lines would be more practical and easy to do.
Look. Always go for the extreme first, and then the secondary.
Okay.
You got to be prepared for
This
the
isn't
worst.
a rational thought, Elena.
Come on, Elena. I mean, there's a lot of interesting details here, for sure. But I do want to ask Glenn. Speaking of living with Gordon, you guys grew up with a lot of consoles around the house, right? You just loved consoles. Or was Gordon just like, no, you're not bringing that stuff here? I almost said the S word.
It's pretty funny. You would think so, right?
Yeah.
No, but we never had a console until probably year ago or something, and we got a Nintendo Switch because my mom really wanted
Christmas.
one.
Yeah, I remember that.
But I had a friend who had an Xbox, and we played like Call of Duty or something. I was not allowed to play Call of Duty, and I thought it was so cool. And I was like, oh my god, like I want an Xbox. I want to play Call of Duty. I want to do all this stuff. And he was like, no, you're getting a PC. Like so we built this like PC, and I played Minecraft on this space station. I played Minecraft and Team Fortress 2 forever.
Nice.
And it was like totally unnecessary. I think it was like had like maybe like a 980 right around when the 1080 came out or something.
Nice.
But it was like totally unnecessary.
I love how this story is the PC hardware version of I grew up with my parents forcing me to eat truffles or like caviar or something, right? Where all the adults are like, dang, and all the kids are like, I just wanted to have the same Lunchables as everybody else.
Yeah, you can't have that cheese whiz. We got to go get you the nice stuff.
You go to the buffet, you go for the crab legs, but no, I just want French fries, Mom.
Yeah,
Over the crab legs.
Yeah.
If you don't have at least 10 crab legs on your plate, then you're walking home.
I mean, we were just talking on the car ride over. You don't go to an all you can eat Korean barbecue place and get rice. Come on, you don't want to fill up on rice.
Just
You gotta get all meat.
Yeah, you gotta fill up on the meat.
If you don't have the meat sweats at the end of that, then you've wasted your money.
Exactly.
Stuff, yeah.
One thing I do want to bring up. This is hard pivot, whatever. I feel like there's a lot of confusion around UDNA. This is something Jack had brought up last year.
UDNA is their rumored next gen architecture that Jack offhandedly mentioned at a press conference, and then people went ham on.
Well, so I feel like there's a lot of miscommunication around there. A lot of people are saying that that's the next generation of architecture, that there's this bigger deal that is going to be what's going to unify. That's the U thing.
You mean it's like a CPU and GPU in one architecture?
Well, I mean, the way he mentioned it was like, oh, it'd be great if the stack, from any piece of hardware that's AMD, Radeon based can use the same drivers. I mean, because that's one of the problems I have right now is like my Strix Halo, that I have, that GPU driver hasn't been updated in months.
Oh, that sucks.
But so it's just like, wait, but it's the same architecture. Why can't it use the same stuff? So I think in his mind, it's something that and he didn't say this clearly, but I think the idea is like it would be really nice to have all this stuff working together, everyone on the same page, from handhelds to laptops to desktop GPUs to all this kind of stuff, and so I think it's like a goal. But in actuality, many times during that dinner last week, they referred to RDNA 5, and then they would say, but what, or whatever it's going to be called. And then I did ask straight up, I was like, hey, Jack, can you please clearly and concisely explain to me what UDN is? And that was the only time that the PR person had to be like, we're not talking about that right now. We'll get back to you about that. So,
wow, good question.
Yeah. So, like, I think UDNA is being thrown around a lot in a lot of places by a lot of people that I do. I mean, like Digital Foundry talks about UDNA, and I'm just like, guys, I don't think it is what it is. So that's why I'm asking AMD, like, hey, I think we need to come out and be very clear about what that whole thing is. Is it a thing? What's the goal here? There's a lot of confusion, I feel like.
I think there is, because it hasn't been clearly explained yet. But I think AMD, from what I understand of UDNA, is trying to correct a big decision it made a few years ago where, I don't know, turn of this decade maybe, they split Radeon into CDNA and RDNA. commercial and Radeon. And they have totally different drivers. They have totally different feature sets in some cases, et cetera, et cetera. That was the whole idea. We're going to develop enterprise feature sets for, the CDNA business. We're going to do consumer stuff on the other one. But since then, machine learning has blown up, and NVIDIA's unified drivers have been a huge, huge advantage for them. And I think this is them trying to correct that issue.
Yeah. So definitely more to get out of there, but yeah. So yeah, I mean, really at the end of the day, this very much signals to me like, hey, everyone from consoles to desktops to handhelds, everyone's looking at ML for the future. So like, I know a lot of people don't like it, but it's here to stay. It is very much going to be a part of our future.
It's going to be.
Yeah.
Like, I understand the sentiment. Like, if a game runs perfect without upscaling or, whatever on my PCs, I prefer to run them native if I can. I don't mind running the stuff at quality settings. They look really good. I think that, 5-10 years from now, like the people who are like, I'm not taking big frames or upscaling or any like that will be like, we'll look back and like the equivalent of like old man yells like cloud kind of a thing.
Well, it's going to be like the people who are like
the future.
Dreamcast. Dreamcast all the way down, baby. I'm never going to give up my Dreamcast.
Actually, I do love the Dreamcast.
I mean, Dreamcast is great, but like, it has one stick. You're not going to use that, It's crazy.
True. Yeah. So interesting stuff. I'm glad I was able to attend, not a ton of like hard breaking news, but it was a good discussion to sit down and just kind of gauge the temperature and really see, these two major companies kind of be like, hey, no, we're working together for the betterment of this industry. And that felt, once again, way more than just like a paper like, oh yeah, hey, by the way, we're partnering on the next thing. Cool. Great.
Go ahead, Will.
No, go ahead, Brad.
I was just gonna say, I'm actually super pumped at it from the other way too. Like we've always known that some of the stuff they do in custom chips for Microsoft and Sony gets used in Radeon stuff. But for Sony to formally say, like, we're working with them on FSR4, like PlayStation has driven a ton of display technology, especially in the past. Like Elena said, they were the first ones to do checkerboard rendering and all this kind of stuff that influenced a lot of stuff today. So I think having those two companies work hand in hand could lead to some cool things.
Adam, I was going to ask, did you get the sense, sometimes when you get invited to those things, it's like, usually they're more off the record when it's like this, but you get the sense that they're kind of trying to beta test some messaging to figure out how they want to roll stuff out or how they want to talk about stuff. Did you get the sense that was happening here or not so much?
No, I mean, Jack is a very straightforward kind of guy. Jack Hune from AMD is very straightforward. You can tell his passion. I mean, of course, he's media trained and has talking points and stuff like that. But he definitely has no problem talking from the heart, and I feel that. And same thing with Mark. Once again, this is the first time I've chatted with Mark, but like he loves this stuff. You can tell like he just lives and breathes architecture and like pushing new technologies and stuff. So like. Once again, yes, he's media trained. He's, knows how to hit talking points, but he was just there to have a discussion. Like it didn't feel like oh, hey, they were kind of giving us a presentation kind of thing.
I actually think, Will, the most interesting clue in the approach is who they chose to attend the group. And so it almost seems like instead of trying to beta test messaging, I'm going to guess is that they're actually getting a temperature read across different angles, right? Because we were there, IGN was there, right? Like, did you say CNET? Or
CNET, PC Gamer, and
yeah,
Notebook
so
Check.
like we've got definitely different areas that are being covered by this. And normally when they have a lot of these sort of like roundtable discussions, they tend to invite outlets that have like pretty similar approaches to coverage or similar-ish audiences, or like it's always very obvious when you've got like we're there and then this influencer that has X number of people on TikTok that follow them, but there's a very clear reason why. And to me this is so broad, it does seem like this is some kind of very deep initiative for them, something that's like they're really trying to make happen. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes and where it goes.
Yeah. So were there developers among the people at the dinner?
No. It was just 5 journalists and then like AMD and Sony.
Darn. So Kojima was not there.
Kojima was not there. No.
Darn.
Willis's heart is broken.
Sorry,
Yeah,
Willis.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think you would have. I would have told you.
Yeah. Immediately.
Yeah. I would have told you. But yeah, cool stuff. I mean, yeah. I think this, to wrap it back around to what we talked about last week with the Xbox stuff. Like, not to say that partnership is, I'm sure
it's on the rocks, Adam.
I'm sure they're
clearly
great.
it's on the rocks. There's not been a dinner.
I'm sure they're great partners. They love working together. But I also think that Microsoft is probably in a position where they're like, you know what, we want to focus on making the games. We'll let you guys figure out the hardware. Let you guys figure out the machine learning stuff.
Yeah, you're valued partners. We really love working with you. Here's the budget that we agreed on, minus 20%, because we're going to just cut everything back a little bit this year. So just shave it down a little bit. It's probably going to be fine. We don't care. We trust you.
Yeah.
It's a really important part of our business. We swear, honest.
Yeah. Maybe Matt Booty is calling up Mark Cerny, being like, hey, thanks for all that work you're doing on the Xbox. I really appreciate that. We're going to be able to benefit from this.
Yeah.
So, no. Anyway, I think we should move on because this is a lot of console talk.
Yeah.
And it's like a couple weeks in a row.
Not the full console.
It's not console yet.
Yeah.
We were talking about handhelds last week. We are alluding to handhelds and PC gaming this week, which is actually a fantastic segue for what we were going to talk about later in the show.
Yeah. Well, next up, let's talk about some testing. Because like we always say around here, always be testing.
Yeah, it's the motto of PCWorld.
And so Will was like, you know what? I'm bored. I have a dirty ass install of Windows. It's got so much junk in it. I've got dude. You should see all of his Yahoo toolbars.
So much stuff in the system
dude.
tray.
Like I can't even imagine what's on his computer right now. And I was like, okay, you know what? We need to test a clean install on your system versus your dirty, gunked up, horrible, filthy install.
Look, sometimes common wisdom.
On that PC?
Oh, you don't want to know. You don't want to know, Elena.
So many different video editors. Sometimes you have a PC, and we have common wisdom or myths, you might say, that people test, that people feel are true. And I think it's important that you test them and debunk or bust them, perhaps. Mm-hmm. So I've always been told that, hey, you got to reinstall Windows every once in a while because it gets crudded up. And I wanted to see what the actual. I realized I had a Windows install that had been going for about a year, a little bit more than a year. And
which you've done some crazy stuff with, including install Linux.
I mean, I use it every day for work. I have multiple versions of Unreal Ed installed.
Dude, in your taskbar or whatever, I'm sure you have like so many things open.
I have Windows System for Linux installed there with 2 different distributions. I use Winget and Chocolatey to install stuff all the time. Yeah, I had crap. It was crapped up. And it was still feeling fast. So I wanted to quantify how fast the old install was versus the new install. So I took that old install, I imaged it, backed it up to another SSD, ran the benchmarks on the image, on the original drive, and did our normal suite of CPU tests plus a handful of other tests to kind of get an overall range to see what the impact of the performance hit was there. Then I took the same SSD, I wiped it, put all of Windows back on, the free, clean, fresh version, same version of Windows, same exact drivers for everything, same BIOS settings, all that, and just a stock Windows install. I didn't do any of the stuff that I normally do with stock Windows installs, like turn off Bing or get rid of Copilot or any of that crap. It was just...
Or VBS turn off or...
I just
you left it on.
Everything was running as is. The VBS turn off is actually a good call because I'm pretty sure I did that on my dirty installed Windows.
Yeah.
And so anyway, ran a bunch of benchmarks. The results... They were shocking.
They've shocked people. There is a video, you can go in the description right now, linked out to a video where we talked about the results.
Adam was shook.
I intentionally had him not tell me what the results were before the video because I was very curious.
So I had no idea this video was coming. I didn't even know you guys were working on this. I wound up seeing it at like 12:30 at night on like last Wednesday or Thursday, whenever it came out. And I started putting stuff in our Slack channel. Mike, we got to cover this in the morning. This thing, I can't believe these results. Like, it blew my mind.
So
TLDR at the end asks TLDR, Will.
TLDR is like maybe 3% at most, but also the dirty machine was often faster
in some weird ways.
Well, I think it was a Windows setting. I think it was either turning off the Bing stuff in the background,
VBS,
getting rid of OneDrive, turning off VBS, turning off the memory protection stuff, because I do that on. For a while, you had to do that for a certain version of Unreal Ed for reasons. So, and that definitely had happened on my old machine and not on the new one. So, yeah. Anyway, it was fascinating.
So and not only did you do it on a 9800 X3D, which is a core CPU, you also did it on a dual core, a dual CCD, 9950 X3D.
Yeah, and I did the recommended AMD process for moving from a single SSCCD to a dual CCD CPU, where you uninstall and reinstall the chipset drivers, and that's supposed to replace all the task scheduler stuff, Windows scheduler stuff now.
And same thing.
Same
the results were
almost exactly the same percentages.
It was crazy. I mean, listen, like as somebody who has had to take over the CPU testing, Gordon was always about like, hey, your test bed needs to be super clean. You need to know what's on here. You got to know what's running at any time. You want the cleanest results, to be able to portray to people. I'm not saying I'm going to now gunk up the test bed or anything like that, but like it was usually like, okay, well, yeah, you get the cleanest results, but man, it's like to see those numbers were not that far off. I mean, listen, there were a lot of comments. There was a lot of people poking holes. So I think now let's all yell at Will.
Yeah, this is the opportunity.
I don't want to yell.
This is your opportunity to tell him why his testing was so bad.
Tell me why I'm stupid, Elena.
Elena, why did he do it bad?
I'm not saying.
Please.
Why weren't you shook, Elena?
Elena, come on.
What did I do wrong?
Just give it to him real. He's
why
a big
is it
boy.
not good enough for you?
He can handle it.
I just wanted people to like me.
I was not going to ask
His
that.
results were flawed.
I was going to say, Will,
Hi,
do you think that your test results, obviously there is a little bit of looseness, we want to say, around this, because it's not a very exactly repeatable across everybody's machines, right? Because everybody's current install is going to be a little bit different.
Of course.
Oh, widely, yeah.
So, but with that in mind, my question to you is that, so looking at this from the perspective of busting, if you want to say, preconceived notions and
or
how
myths. Some people call them
myths.
Yeah.
Yes, I didn't know how many words I could use.
Synonym for myth.
I used that in the headline, and I wasn't even thinking about it until y'all just made these jokes.
You probably didn't work as much in the days of print, where everything was like, oh, do we need to make sure that, okay, yeah, all right, because it's there forever.
Yeah, we're past the 30-minute mark in this podcast.
Here we go. Legend Buster, Tale Buster, Fable Buster.
Oh yeah, I'm a Fable Buster.
Yeah, Fable Busters. That's
Fable
our new
Busters.
That's our new YouTube channel, Fable Busters.
New franchise.
Yeah.
Unknown Microsoft franchise.
PCWorld Fable Busters. Let's go.
I kind of love it, actually.
Fable Breakers,
actually
Fable Smashers.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, Elena.
Copyright.
It's all good. We're both spicy and whimsical today.
Yeah.
Do you think that some of this is related to how much Windows has improved? Because I don't think it's just an old wives' tale that in the old days you really did need to do, a freshening of your boot drive every so often, because I think back then, like, things just didn't play nice with each other. Like, you would install things, drivers would conflict, sometimes you would uninstall programs and things would get left behind the registry and it would create unintentional problems, et cetera, et cetera.
So yeah.
But, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
We'll take this as a multi-part question. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I think you're absolutely right. I think, thinking back on this, and I had a couple of conversations about this because people had thoughts that they wanted to share with me on social media about this video. And one of the things that somebody pointed out, which is absolutely correct, is that pre-Windows, I think 7 probably was when Microsoft got better at this, and really with Windows 10 it got great.
Much better.
Was that Windows would start getting weird and wonky after a while. It wouldn't necessarily be slow, but it would be janky, and like you'd install something and the install would fail, or some update would fail to run, or weird stuff would happen. And often it was easier to just do back up your stuff and clean install Windows than it was to try to troubleshoot that. Because this is the thing we talked about with Mikey.
Yeah,
too.
yeah. You could just run SFC scan now.
Yeah, you should. Everybody should do that.
Yeah.
It's first thing out of the gate.
Yeah. You find your
SFC
corrupted
scan
files.
now.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Don't do that. We have a video.
There's a video coming.
Mikey's probably in the chat. He's ripping his hair out.
Screaming at me. But no. The point is the reason that was one of the troubleshooting steps was. It was usually easier to just reinstall Windows and back up your stuff, reinstall Windows and put your stuff back than it was to do the 35 things that would take more time than that. And at the end of that, it was still even odds that your machine would still be kind of janky and weird.
Yep.
So I think to your point, prior to starting working in game dev, my Windows install was from like 2016, 2015. And it lasted a really long time. It lasted from the dawn of Windows 10 basically until until
I wanted to do the same thing.
I started installing a bunch of copies of Unreal on my computer, it turns out.
So just as an anecdotal point, for everybody in the chat that's saying, oh, we have potential issues with your testing methodology. We're not quite assured.
Let's bring them up. Yeah, let's talk about it.
Well, I mean, there's not a lot in our chat because I think our group's a good one, but like the general social media comments, and I will say anecdotally, and of course it's anecdotally, but this past weekend I was clearing out some things that I had stored at my parents' house, and one of them was my Devil's Canyon build, Windows 7, and I booted it up, and it did the whole starting Windows thing, and then it just didn't finish. And I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. I was meant to do a refresh of this drive, and then I just built a new PC instead.
Yeah, problem solved.
Problem solved. Just throw away the whole machine. Well, but I do think on the flip side, the other part of my question was, I don't think this necessarily eliminates the potential for wonkiness or weirdness because I don't think Gordon was wrong to say when you are testing, when you are trying to do something very repeatable and you want no extra variables in there, then you want to start with the clean drive. You want to know exactly. And like honestly, sometimes the easier way of doing it is just, using images because then for sure you're using the exact same thing across all of them.
So and especially in the era of self-updating drivers and self-updating OSs and all this stuff and weird security updates being pushed out kind of silently. I think that's right. This is why I imaged the drive first, and I replaced the image before I ran the 9900 numbers on the dirty machine. I made the clean install, and I did image the clean install, and then replaced the clean install before I did the 950X. When I moved from the 9800 to the 9950, there was a lot of CPU changing during these tests. It turns out it was kind of a pain in the butt. But yeah, so like anytime you're starting with something that's not super controlled, right? Like I was starting with a machine that, quite frankly, I don't remember all the things that I've done to that over the last year, which is why it's horrible stuff, really. If Adam's looking at me like I'm admitting some horrible perversions.
That's why I was like, I got a perfect guy to test this out.
Yeah, but we didn't. We tried to remove as much of the variability outside of, hey, the starting condition for this machine is extremely variable because it's just it is like people ask, why didn't I do this on an older CPU that maybe would have shown more stuff? And the reason I didn't do that is because it's the computer that I use every day for work.
And you actually were feeling it. Like, yes, we ran benchmarks, but you were also just using it and feeling it.
But it's like my day-to-day use driver computer, and you had a theory that you wanted to test, which was that like the credit up 8-core machine and
the credit up 12-core.
Yeah, the credit up 12-core and the new 8-core would feel basically the same. Turns out not at all the case. The
not even
16-core machines just feels fast.
Not even close.
That comment doesn't even make sense to me, though. Or that style comment doesn't even make sense to me because you're. Like most people aren't going to be doing what I did, which is throw away the whole machine, right? Like if you are doing your reinstalls, you're typically keeping the same hardware. So that's the constant. It's such a strange comment to me.
Well, I mean, people may do like buy new SSDs or something to swap out and do an upgrade.
Or hey, one of the great things about AM4 and AM5 is the ability to upgrade, to a faster, powerful CPU later, and the recommendation from AMD before Ryzen 9000 was if you have a new CPU install that goes from a single CCD to a dual CCD, you should have a fresh Windows install for scheduling.
I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you're wrong.
Yeah.
I'm just saying I think it's hilarious that people like zeroed in on this much more rare use case. Like, how often do people replace their machines? Like our group that are listening to us right now, more often probably than the average person. But most people are not going to be constantly upgrading their machines like yearly. So if you're doing a fresh install, it's more likely you're doing it because it's been a year, 2 years, 3 years with your PC, and you're like, maybe I'll get better performance if I do this, because things maybe just don't feel as good as they used to. But this helps eliminate part of that when you're evaluating, is it my hard drive, or your storage drive? Is it something else in the machine? What do I want to tackle with my free time in terms of trying to freshen this up?
Yeah. Well, let's get to a couple things real quick. Friend of the show, Ivan Ramanazov, says, here we go. Windows 11 is so bad that it didn't matter if it was cruddy or clean. There you go. There's the answer.
It's already cruddy enough.
It's just so crappy compared to Linux that,
so
it's just junk.
The next one I should do is probably my daughter's computer, which is, I think, a Ryzen 5600. It started as a Windows 7 install that I installed Windows 10 on and then upgraded and placed to Windows 11. But also, it started as an Intel Sandy Bridge machine. And when that board conked out, when the memory conked out, it was cheaper to just buy a 5600 and a board and new memory than it was to get DDR3 for that machine at the time during the pandemic.
And you didn't do a clean install of Windows at that point.
It's
so
possible.
You're talking about chipset drivers, motherboard drivers.
Look, I'm going to tell you what I did. I opened it up in safe mode with network off, and I deleted everything from Device Manager one at a time.
That showed an error.
Yeah, all the stuff that was hidden, that was unconnected, I deleted all that stuff, and then I rebooted and installed the chipset drivers, and it was fine.
It's fine.
She's been using it for like 5 years, dude. I did that in
what?
2021.
Actually, we should steal that from her and
you know
do
what?
testing on that, actually.
Cheers to you, Will. Like, respect. Because you actually admitted that out loud. And a lot of people
it's okay. His daughter doesn't watch.
in our position would not. And I just think that level of honesty should get a shout out. Should get some respect.
Here's I didn't have a blank
That's
SSD
like real talk.
because it was 2021 and I couldn't get one. I tried to get a new SSD to just do a clean install. And I didn't want to fool with backing her stuff up and potentially losing it, and that would have been really traumatizing. So instead, I did the jankiest possible thing, and it worked.
I mean,
it's like the saying goes, man. If it's stupid but it works, then it's not stupid.
It's not stupid.
You're stupid for spending all that time reinstalling Windows.
Yeah, you're stupid. So one of the other things, a lot of people said, "Hey, listen, you did this test with two of like the fastest CPUs you can get right now."
Yeah.
So, hey, no matter what, these are fast CPUs and you weren't going to feel that big of a difference anyway.
Yeah, but the
so
percentage
you could have done this
across.
Well, I don't know. Because, if you're talking about a 9900K,
So I'll be honest. I'm not worried about that. I think that modern CPUs are pretty much going to be fast enough that we'll see the same results.
Yeah.
I think it might make a difference on systems with different amounts of RAM.
What about Sandy Bridge?
If you're running, Unreal Engine and this is your work PC, I'm sure you've got at least 64 gigs.
That's it.
And I think possibly if you have an 8 gigabyte, it might be different.
I think if I were doing it over again, and if I hadn't jacked up my Windows install, I would probably run 16 gig and 32 gig numbers just to see what the outcome is. Because my guess is that a bunch of crap running in the task bar is going to, most of the benchmarks we use aren't actually memory capacity limited. They're designed to run in 32 gigs, but a handful of them are.
Also, go ahead.
We're just talking over each other.
Sorry. It's so fun.
I think it's fair to remember that on the flip side, you're doing a lot more intense stuff than 99% of people.
Yeah.
Most people are not going to have Unreal,
True.
Not going to have all these video editors, have OBS and stuff loaded up in their taskbar. So
I mean, for what
once
it's worth,
you get down to a Chrome and Outlook, even 8 gigabyte, 16 gigabyte, I think might run just as well.
Yeah, and this was the other thing that this kind of got me thinking about too, is that, and this is, and I talked a lot about this with Gordon, because a lot of his testing methodologies for CPUs were born in a day where, you had very limited resources, a couple cores, and so you would have to run an application and just walk away. You couldn't do other stuff at the same time. I mean, I had that same experience too.
Yeah.
Video editing, you would load up an export and be like, okay, cool, I've got a half an hour. I'm going to go grab some lunch and walk away because I can't literally do anything else on the system. But
game dev still works like that a lot for what it's
worth.
There's a bunch of stuff in game dev that
So
you can walk away.
And a lot of our tests are single focus. So, you ran the benchmark suite, but a lot of them are single focus use cases where most people don't use their systems like that, and there's no real way, or it's really hard to come up with repeatable ways to benchmark something and say, hey, you know what, I'm gonna have a render out on Premiere while at the same time I'm watching a YouTube video, while at the same time I'm editing something over in Unreal, because that's how you're usually using your system. You're not just using one application at a
playing,
time.
There's a Netflix thing going in the background. There's
so like that. So maybe you would have felt it there, because then it's having to actually schedule things, that are happening. I mean,
maybe I should have run one of the composite synthetic benchmarks like Geekbench or something like that kind of mimics those behaviors. But I think for me, somebody pointed this out in the comments. It was a good takeaway. The ways that Windows get janky are often indicated in things like application launch times and whether you have weird errors popping up when you do installs and general instability or weirdness, stuff like that. And I think that, again, we talk about this. I think there's a video coming with Mikey where we talk about this, about troubleshooting theory and how often people just have a list of things that they do when their computer is broken instead of thinking about what each thing is going to do. And SFC Scan now is a great tool for the unbelievably rare times that the platter on your hard drive got corrupted and jacked up one of your core Windows files, or some anti-cheat installed something that jacked up one of your core Windows files. Most of the time, you don't need to do that, right? It's like the reinstalling Windows should be the thing that you do when you look at your problems. You're like, oh, it's going to be easier for me to just do a clean start than it is to figure out how this is jacked up because I can't find any documentation about how to fix the problem I'm having. And I think that's it.
Yeah. Cool test.
I would be, sorry, because I know how much free time you have, Will.
Yeah.
I would be curious to see the difference between a full clean install versus an in-place refresh.
So that's the one thing I didn't, it's funny. I've never trusted that in-place refresh thing.
That's what I mean. I think I would be really interested to see how that goes.
Well, but the process for it is goofy for me. As somebody who's comfortable doing a full reinstall, I still have to reinstall all my applications and drivers and stuff after I do the in-place refresh. So I should experiment with this. I think it's a good call out. I'm like, when I did the clean install, I had to do a clean install a couple of weeks ago. We shot this video ages ago and then it just went up. But I did a clean install, I think week before. And it took me 2 hours after I'd done the backups, which ran all day. It took me 2 hours to do the clean install and get my applications back up and running and be more or less back in working condition. And I don't know that I can beat that with the refresh, honestly. I'd be curious to see what that experience is like. Just to know, though.
I'm looking at it more from the perspective not of how efficient it is as a process, but more as like, what's the performance benefit from doing it? Because I think there are people who, maybe not our group, but just like people that we would do tech support for, who would get very nervous at the idea of doing like a complete wipe, even though you've done a backup or an image or whatever. And so they might just feel more emotionally comfortable with, it's like, okay, Windows isn't going to touch my personal files, but it will freshen up everything for me.
I think Windows testing shows that it doesn't even really need that. Like, if you feel like you need a clean install, you could use the refresh option. I would bet it would work pretty much the exact same way. Seeing as how the clean and dirty system already.
Yeah, Elena just wants me to
always
suffer.
Be testing.
I know that I don't want you to suffer. It's just that I do wonder, because as you said, it's not quite the same process, that I wonder if there could be complications it actually introduces, right? That's what I kind of want to, that's more what I'm thinking about and curious about.
Sounds like your Devil's Canyon might be a good candidate
prime
for
candidate.
it. Huh?
Actually,
Came back.
I actually have a theory around all this. So Microsoft has been saying forever, since Windows 7, Windows 8. When Windows 8 came out, Steven Sinofsky said, hey, we're taking aim at bit rot. That's what they call it, bit rot. Windows gets jankier as it goes on. Didn't really make a difference in Windows 8. I'm glad they started the process.
I don't know if it lasted long enough for it to make a difference. Windows 8, though. Also,
Ooh,
thank God.
Take that shot.
Dang.
Thank God.
Wow.
But Windows 10 was supposed to be the same thing. I was actually going to test this about a year into Windows 10, but Windows 10 took like 5 years to be stable, so I didn't feel comfortable with that process. It literally took me 3 or 4 years to be able to reliably cut and paste. But Microsoft's been working real hard to get things on the Universal App Platform and to get things going through Chocolatey and Winget UI, like you said you use. And they were developing an operating system called Windows 10X a while ago that was going to power that folding Surface Neo phone. That wound up getting the axe, but that wound up being the base for the big new Copilot PC refresh of Windows 11. So I'm just wondering if now all the pieces are finally coming together. It feels like that looking off your testing, like they've been working at this for years. They even Microsoft just said in the last week or two, in the future, they want all app updates to come through Windows Update, presumably to continue.
People are going to love that.
I'm sure they do. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. but yeah, it just feels like they've been plugging away at it for over a decade at this point. And from your results, man, I feel like they nailed it.
I think, yeah, I mean, I was really pleasantly surprised. I like, for example, when I did the clean install last week, one of the things I did was I did a quick install of Windows on an external SSD, like a 256 gig SSD in a cage, to see if the machine was still, because I was having blue screens. I wanted to see if the machine was still unstable booting off of that, and it was fine, right? So like, at that point I was worried the reinstall wasn't going to solve the problem, I guess, for the refresh wasn't,
because it was it was a
UEFI.
Yeah, you had the
Linux
thing.
I made some choices,
which a refresh wouldn't have fixed.
Refresh wouldn't have fixed.
Yeah.
But I'll go into the refresh install testing and give that a try and see what it does. I'm curious how it actually works.
I mean, if you're planning to do something with your daughter's hard drive, or so I keep saying that, storage drive, for like next round of testing, maybe you could just slot it in along with that. Yeah. It's
when you have the machine that's in the crudded up condition, it makes it easier to do this stuff. Having to artificially crud up the machine, it turns out, is really hard.
Yeah.
Yep. And then you also get to hit two birds with one stone by saying that we did all this testing with a more normal person level CPU. So
yeah, I mean, like realistically, how long could she go without her system?
I mean,
if you're like, hey, honey, I'm sorry, I got to take this for a while and test it.
Like, she'd be upset she wakes up, summertime, she usually wakes up around like 11:30 or noon. So
so you got to do this overnight.
12:30.
Oh, so so you got to do this overnight. Stay up all night, do some testing.
Yeah, no, I mean,
Adam just making this worse for you.
We can have a negotiation. I'm sure she'd be open if there's some sort of
She'd get her a console
remuneration.
No, she got a Switch too. Yeah, just playing her Switch too. It can do taxes, right?
Yeah.
Anyway,
play Minecraft there.
Yeah, there we go.
Bedrock edition, like a
perfect. Okay. Let's move on, because we have some video games. I don't know. Do you guys play video games? Anyone play video games right here? The Steam Summer Sale has started. When did it start?
Yes, Monday.
Tuesday?
I don't know. It goes until the 10th of July.
It was Friday.
Really?
Last week.
Wow.
Thursday, actually.
This is one of the big ones, though. This is like Steam.
Yeah, Steam Summer Sale is good. There's a lot of stuff on there. I think, we were like, hey, why don't we come in here and maybe talk about some of our personal favorites that people might not have heard about that, we can recommend, which I'll be clear, some of them I didn't come at from like which games do I like that are the best discount. It's more like, which games do I like that I don't think a lot of people have played that are on discount. Because there was actually a couple games I was like, I would love to recommend this one. Oh, it's not even on sale at all. And then some of them are like, I love this one. It's only 20% off, but still I'd recommend it. Yeah. I think we all brought some recommendations to the table.
Yes, we did. Yeah. I don't think I approached it the same way you did, though.
No, but that's good. So, do you want to start? How'd you approach it?
Oh, I figure that this is a chance for everybody to get to know us a little bit better in terms of what our taste is for what we play or what we like to play, what we're interested in. So I have more than just a handful up, because I look through what's in my library, also what's on my wish list. And so, I mean, obviously there are some. I'm just gonna go with my full list.
Yeah.
I mean, how many is on this list? Like 100?
I mean, I have probably like at least 7 to 10 games. I'm just gonna mention real quick. That's just like a lot because originally we said
no. I thought you were gonna say like, oh, I've got like 26 games. I was like, maybe paste
no, that'd be
Discord.
an article, and then Brad would want to know why I didn't just write it for the site.
I'm a taskmaster.
So mean.
So obviously for me, Steam sales, it's not what it used to be, right? It's not where you would get a random new game at super crazy discount and you would wait, with bated breath for it to see what dropped next. Now it's more of, are your favorites on sale? Are things on your wish list on sale? And so I always recommend to people that if you haven't already played some of the classics from however many years ago, pick it up now. Like Portal 2 is $2 right now. I'm sure you've played it. So if you played it, gift it to somebody else. It's cheaper than buying them a coffee.
Yeah.
At least out here. Just saying. So, like all the Valve classics, like pick those up, hand them out to your friends like candy. Much safer than floor candy.
Plus Portal 2 has a good co-op mode.
Yeah, and it's the co-op it teaches you a lot about your friends. I'll tell you that.
Yes,
I played actually co-op mode in Portal 2 multiple times with different people, and it really teaches you a lot about how your friends think and how well you get along together when you're problem solving. So that's my first recommendation. Not just Valve, but also like I saw some of my favorite. Let's see. Why is the name of the Behemoth games? There we go. I was like, why am I blanking the studio name? So like Castle Crashers is cheap right now.
One of your favorite of all time.
Battle Block Theater. One of my, I love that platformer. It's so fun. That's on sale right now. And they have this really cute bundle for it. So because Battle Block Theater is actually a co-op platform game. So you can help each other and also grief each other depending on how you're feeling that day. And they have a little bundle that's a 2-pack basically, so you can share one with your friend and again test. Maybe this is just speaks
wait.
To
They're
my
letting them do
personality.
bundles, really?
Well, right here it just says here you can buy.
That's crap.
It says buy Ultra Babies Co-op Chaos Pack. Includes 2 copies of Battle Block Theater, and then there's also the Can't Stop Laughing bundle, Battle Block Theater, and Castle Crashers. So that's just for like the smaller fun games that I like. If you like cats, Stray is on sale.
I mean, who doesn't like cats? Yeah,
They're
I'm
fine.
just saying. Stray is on sale.
Stray's awesome.
I really enjoy that game.
Big Kitty, Little City.
Little Kitty, Big City is a much
Little
better
Kitty,
game.
Big City.
Eh,
I like both
But
because I like cats.
I like cats too. They're fine.
couple others that I want to shout out. If you inside always wanted to be that dude who had a basement with like nothing but like train models like running around set up downstairs, but you are a poor broke millennial that can't afford a basement or a bunch of expensive model trains, there is a game called Station to Station. It's like I think voxel style art, super cute. It's very soothing. It's on 60% off right now. It's like $7 for this game. If you come from an immigrant family and you just want to cry a lot about the sacrifices your grandparents and your parents made for you, Venba is a really sweet, heartwarming story. I really love it. It's pretty cheap right now, $6. And then this might actually speak to me as about me as a person more than I like to admit, but another game to see how well you can test your friendships and get along.
I see a theme here.
I'm just saying. There's a game called Calyx, which incidentally is the same name as that really popular bookcase from IKEA, and I don't think it's by accident because it's basically a game where you play co-op with your friends and try to build furniture together. And it's so cute. The art is so cute. It's $5. Honestly, if you want to test your it's Kallax. It's super cute. The art, at least. The arguments you might have with your friends, maybe not as cute. So
it's half off.
Overcooked is a good way to find out if you really like your friends.
Hey, it's not your turn yet, Will.
Sorry.
Overcooked is another one, but I am not so much into the cooking shared space. I'm just like, get out of my kitchen or cook for me. It's kind of more my attitude. So
that's cute.
The furniture one is more up my alley.
That sounds like a crime.
That looks really cute.
It's really cute. Those are my suggestions.
Okay. I dig it. Yeah. Well, if you want to test your friends, yeah, be like, hey, are we friends? Just load up.
Do you want to stay friends?
Yeah. Do you want to stay friends? Yeah. Oh, you know what? I've known you for a couple weeks. We need to test our friendship. Is this going to go any further? All right, Brad, you're up next.
Yeah, I would love to go next. Sweet. I have to get out of here at the top of the hour, by the way. So I went through it a little bit differently. I basically just opened up Steam and I'm like, what impresses me? And I figured I'd bring it here. One thing.
Can you impress Brad? That's all the developers out there. Can you impress Brad?
Wow.
I get pumped for stuff, but in general, even killed. Who knows? Might be hard.
Wild card.
Yeah. One thing that really stood out to me is there's an amazing amount of great older indie games that are incredibly cheap, incredibly beautiful, both visually and to play. Some of the examples that I wrote down, you can get Gris, which is a beautiful platformer. The visual style is ridiculous. It's $1.49.
Ooh.
You can get Crypt of the Necrodancer, which is like a rhythm dungeon-based roguelike game that there was a rhythm-based Zelda game that came out a while ago. It's the same developer. This was first. That's also $1.49. I've spent like 40 hours in that game. For $1.49, that's ridiculous. Hades, the original Hades, is $8.49. If you haven't played that, that's ridiculously cheap.
Love that game.
Slay the Spire was another one that was, on top of everybody's list a year or two ago. It's only $6. So like Disco Elysium was our game of the year that it came out. Everybody's game of the year that it came out. It's $3.99. It's possibly the best role-playing game you can ever play. It is kind of like a choose-your-own adventure novel in some ways as well, but in the most wonderful possible way. And then finally, Hitman's World of Assassination. I love the murder hitboxes, the sandboxes that are modern Hitman games. World of Assassination is basically the main story for the Hitman 1, 2, and 3. They combined them. It's only $5.99. That's ridiculous. In all of these games put together, you're spending like $25 for hundreds of hours of top-notch games. What's up, Will?
I was just going to say that Hitman game is like there's new stuff dumping into that all the time too. They're still updating, like there's
it's a live game.
Yeah, they do what are they called, the contracts where you have to go out and do a murder out of a random person and thing. It's pretty good.
Yeah, I remember.
And sometimes they do the limited time event ones too, where you get like a chance to go do it. It's Hitman's excellent. Like that's one of my favorite series.
Yeah.
But that's
It wasn't intentional, but all these games would run great on a Steam Deck too. I don't know about Hitman specifically, but I'm pretty sure
Hitman
that's...
runs on a Steam
Hitman
Deck.
will run.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
And then I have a couple games that, I'm interested in buying personally. One that I never heard of before until Friday. Michael Kreider writes for PCWorld. He's a big, huge fan of indie games and games that don't need graphics cards. And he did, best games of 2025 so far you don't need a graphics cards for. And there's one that really caught my eye called The Root Trees Are Dead, which is basically like a Papers, Please kind of procedural game where you're an investigator trying to piece together in the aftermath of a small plane crash that took out a family of billionaires.
Root Trees Are
The
Dead.
twist is you're like exploring a fictional late 90s version of the internet, and that's how you're doing the investigation. And it sounds incredibly cool, and it's on sale for $16 during the Steam sale, and I will absolutely spend $16 on that.
Oh, it's got like a fake OS and everything.
Oh, I was gonna
it
ask.
looks really cool.
That's cool.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, like, is it just like being on BBSs and IRC?
Like AOL kind of.
Oh, the browser is like it passed by real quick, but I think it's a
Navigator.
Netscape. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
But so that's one I'm really excited for. He actually puts a lot of work and effort. He plays a lot of games. Go look for the best PC games of 2025 that don't need a graphics card. Find that. He has some great ideas in there. So everyone should go check that out. But two other games that I'm personally pumped for and I'm going to buy. Stalker 2. It came out for $60. Looked a little janky. Looked like it was coming in hot. That's what you expect out of Stalker. That's also the reason I wait for the summer sale so I can get it for $40 instead of $60. Sorry, that's probably not what game developers want to hear. If it came out solid, I would have bought it at $60. Now I'm willing to take that risk because it's $20 less.
Well, they've also released 3 big updates for it, I think, since it came out kind of rough too. So yeah, everyone wins.
Yeah, so gonna try that out. And finally, RoboCop Rogue City.
Oh, that game's awesome.
That's fun.
That looks sick. I've never played it. It's a first-person shooter RoboCop game, basically. It's 90% off. You can get it for $4.99.
That's a deal.
That seems like the best $4.99 I could spend this year. So.
I'd buy that for $1.
Yeah. Man, Brad's impressed by RoboCop.
Brad loves RoboCop.
Yeah.
80s sci-fi, baby. Let's go.
I like it. Well, let's keep the train rolling. I'm gonna go next. Most of mine are handheld based, and most of my I love turn-based tactics, Metroidvania games, things like that. So I kind of lean towards that. These are ones that I put good time into over the past couple of years that I really like, that I feel like nobody talked about, except for a couple of them. Warside. It doesn't have a huge rating on it, but it's essentially like Advance Wars. If you were a fan of Advance Wars, which I am, it's essentially Advance Wars. And yeah, it's not a huge discount, but it's enough of a discount. I think people should check it out. I like it. Cookie Cutter is a really good Metroidvania with crazy art style, just over the top. Really, and some weird mechanics in it too. I liked it. Yeah, Cookie Cutter was fun. Late Homework. If you like PS1 era horror games and cats, this is a recommendation for you. So you play.
Oh damn!
Yeah, so
That's very niche.
You play as a cat, but it's like a 90, like it's a PlayStation 1 style graphics, and it's a horror game, like a survival horror, like a psychological horror game, and yeah, real fun. It's short. It's not a ton to it, but I like that one a lot.
And the name is called Late Homework.
Late Homework,
so
because it's at a high school. It takes place at a high school. Mouth washing. I feel like a lot of people talk about mouth washing, but that one was also kind of psychological horror kind of stuff, but also just real weird. Like it's sci-fi. You're like on a ship on a mission. I don't want to reveal too much, but it's trippy. It's like a drug trip kind of in a video game, but also once again like PS1 style graphics. That one,
but in a good way or a bad way?
But in a good way. No. Well, a good drug trip. Well, no, actually, some bad things happen.
Mouthwashing is
actually some bad things happen. So maybe it's a bad.
Like
drug
there's
trip.
a list of content warnings that need to come along with mouthwashing that are like maybe do a little bit of light reading if you're squeamish.
Yeah, it's
a nightmare.
Yeah. Anyway, Thronefall. I like tower defense games, and Thronefall is one where you're like building up towers and you get waves of enemies that come, but you actually directly control a warrior that's going around too.
You got a guy.
Yeah. So really cool. I like that one. Sulaco is a first-person shooter in the vein of not Fear,
Doom.
Yeah, but
it's kind of like System Shock.
Yes, System Shock. Very sci-fi. Not really like immersive sim too much, but
there's immersive sim bits.
There's some stuff. Yeah,
it uses GX Doom, I think, as the engine. So it's all spritey. It's awesome.
And you can that thing. You can load up like full graphical resources and like really tax your system, and it looks really pretty.
They have a modern particle effects engine on top of GX Doom. It's wild. It's really fun.
Yeah, real fun. If you like. Man, I'm seeing a theme here, like a PS1 visual horror game, Crow Country. So it's essentially like it controls like a Resident Evil, PS1 Resident Evil, like tank controls, but a little more like Silent Hill kind of story, like psychological horror, and survival horror. I love it. Really good. Thank Goodness You're Here is a genuinely funny game. And I feel like not a lot of people like heard about it or played it. Like it's British humor, a lot of fart jokes, and stupid jokes, but oh man, is it hilarious. Like
go ahead.
It's so good. Like,
and it's like 45 minutes.
Real short, yeah.
What was it called? Jazz Punk was a great game with a lot of British absurdist humor in it too. You probably get that pretty cheap.
Jazz Punk is pretty good.
Man, a game that I don't. A lot of people know I don't finish a lot of games, and there's definitely not a lot of games I play multiple times. Aliens Dark Descent is like the closest I've ever found to an Aliens video game. it's turn-based tactics. So you have a squad. You're going, through and like, saying, hey, you know what? Let's all mount up at the door. And okay, breach. You guys go over here and do this. Go over here and do this. I've played this multiple times, and I love it. And it's like perfect Aliens if you're into Alien, mythology and all that stuff.
I have written down 4 of these that you've said so far. That description just got me the most incredibly excited I think I've been in my life.
I tried to tell Gordon at the time too. I was like, dude, I know you love Aliens. Like, you should play this game because it's so good. I love it, and I'm so surprised people haven't talked about it more. A couple more for me real quick. 1,000 Times Resist was my favorite game of last year. Story based, not a ton of gameplay, but it was an amazing story actually. I've Willis.
I'm halfway, so thank you for that.
Really cool. So it's Hong Kongese based in Vancouver developers.
Yes.
Yeah. So it deals with a lot of that kind of stuff, but also like futuristic. And just has like really cool art stylings. Like, I love it. Really good soundtrack too. If you like visual novels and horror, you've probably already heard of Doki Doki Literature Club. But essentially, it's like a visual novel. Like you would think like, oh, you're high school kids, and it's so cheesy. And then it turns into a horror game out of nowhere, and you're like, what? Excuse me, what? And it is hilarious. It breaks the fourth wall a lot, and it's awesome.
Spoilers.
Sorry. Warhammer 40k Chaos Gate Daemon Hunters has the stupidest name, but it's
an incredible name. I don't know what you're talking
about. But it is turn-based tactics. It is like the closest to XCOM, but with Warhammer 40k. And I'm not a Warhammer person at all, but I love this. The gameplay is awesome.
What was the name?
Warhammer 40k Chaos Gate - Daemon Hunters. It's Demon Hunters, but they spell it Daemon. Also, turn-based tactics is Other Side. So it's turn-based tactics, but you're playing vampires, and like all your abilities are about like sucking energy and stuff like that. Really cool art style. And last one, turn-based tactics again, is Showrunners. So you're like in a post-apocalyptic game show where you're fighting for survival, and you're like, it's turn-based tactics, and really cool stuff. So
it's like Running Man.
Yes, Running Man, but turn-based tactics. And like I said, most of these play on handheld as well. I think Warhammer is probably the most visually intensive one.
If you're into turn-based games, turn-based tactics, I'm sure you've already played this, but just for anybody here, the game is old enough now. I'm not sure that everybody knows it. There's a game called Invisible Ink that's turn-based tactics, but it's like stealth-based, and it's incredible.
And I think that runs on
10
phone.
years old. It runs on anything.
I think they have it on phone too. Yeah. So, Will, what's your list, man?
Okay, so I had a little bit different approach.
Okay, what was your approach?
I went down the list, games that I spent the most time with and or beaten, and looked to see what was on sale and what was good this year. And then I also pulled out a couple that I really like that are just bangers.
Yeah, you have a couple games I'm like, oh, yeah, nobody's heard of this.
I have a section called Dub AAA games at the bottom. So for me, I love Elena's tip to go get the old games, but also I like supporting new studios because like the hardest thing about releasing like a co-op shooter these days is that people get in your Steam forums are like, why would I play this? Left 4 Dead 2 has so much more content. It's only $2. And so I'm a little broken from that kind of
That's
feedback
fair.
for years.
That's fair. 100% agree that all good games should be supported.
Yeah. Starting the list, Blueprints. This is a puzzle adventure game that just came out a couple months ago. It has a pretty good sale right out the gate, and it's a banger in the same vein as like Outer Wilds in terms of incredible puzzles and a story that kind of unwraps in a mysterious way that I'm not going to talk about at all. And the only reason you shouldn't play that is if you're colorblind, because I don't think they've added the accessibility stuff for the 30% of puzzles in that game that are dependent on being able to perceive the difference between red and green.
Whoops.
And
it's Prince,
Blueprints,
P-R-I-N-C.
But if you search for P-R-I-N-T-S, that works too.
Oh, it does.
If you like the Castle of Mad King Ludwig, this is your jam. Skin Deep is a comedy immersive sim. So in the vein of like System Shock or Dishonored or Prey or Hitman kind of. It's made by Blendo Games, which is one of my favorite indie studios. Brendan Chung over there does exclusively works in old id Tech engines. So I think this one is id Tech 4, which is I think the Doom 3 engine, if I remember right. and it's you like this because there's cats out.
I know. I was about to say you're bearing the lead here. You're saving
Yeah.
cats. You're infiltrating to save cats.
You play a hireable assassin whose job is to rescue the cats that are the main force of commerce in the galaxy from space pirates, and you kill the space pirates by like flushing their heads down the toilet and stuff like that. It's very funny. It's a very silly game and highly recommended. I Am Your Beast picks up the super hot crown where you have like these little tiny combat arenas and your goal is to like speed run through them as quickly as possible.
Super hot.
It is super stylish and cool. This is a cool game.
It's so cool.
It's so cool. Dead Zone Rogue we played on the stream last week. It's a roguelike shooter, really tight cut shooting, nice upgrade trees.
Oh, that was really cool. Yeah.
You can play co-op with up to I think 2 or 3 other people.
Yeah, I need to play more.
And it runs great on the Steam Deck. Little Kitty Big City is my favorite cat game of all time.
So good.
It's basically the Untitled Goose Game, but you're a cat, and instead of doing goose stuff, you do cat stuff. Also, Untitled Goose Game is great.
I don't 100% most games or many games at all.
Little Kitty Big City.
I did.
Yeah.
I hope they update it or like give a patch or a content update.
Eternal Strands is a game that I think people missed. It came out at a kind of unfortunate time because I think it came out around the same time as Avowed, and it's kind of the same kind of
Is this a Strand
action
game?
RPG. This is not a Strand game. This is it's an open world ARPG. It's made by a bunch of people who made games that you're familiar with, and the combat is super duper good, and it's got Shadows of the Colossus climbing on big monsters vibes in a way that's real good.
Wow.
Yeah. They like I said, it came out at a real unfortunate time and they got buried.
Oh no. Yeah, because this looks awesome.
The art is really good. The graphics are great. Combat's super fun. And like I said, we don't get a whole lot of games where you're a little guy that has to climb up on a big thing and wail on its back of its head or whatever. So Drop Duchy is a game I learned about from the Giant Bombcast. It's like Carcassonne and Tetris had a baby, and it's very good.
You turned me on to that. I need to get back to it.
And then Curse of the Golden Idol for your crime solving games, Brad, is right up there. It's like a logical deduction game with a really bizarre, weird story attached to it that I find quite charming, and like the grimiest, it's like 16-bit art style you've ever seen.
Excellent. That all sounds right up my alley. I've taken so many notes. I'm appreciating this. Even if nobody else is.
Elena, if you want to test your friends, I've got some games for that.
Listening now.
Ultimate Chicken Horse is the Incredible Machine. You remember that old educational game where you had to take like gears and simple machines, and then you would make a tool to solve a puzzle. This is like that, but you're making an obstacle course, and the goal is that you want to be able to get to the end of the obstacle course, but you want to kill all your friends on the way because you get more points if you're the only one that makes it there. So you basically build these horrible obstacle courses, and you're trying to make it just bad enough that only you know how to get across it.
So it's like build your own Super Meat Boy.
Pretty much, yeah. And it has Twitch integration, so if you play on the stream, then people in the chat can choose which items you get to choose from to build with. It's incredible for sitting on a couch, or you can use the Steam game streaming stuff. So like you can buy it, then your friends can just play streaming across the internet to you.
This?
It's old.
Seems perfect.
It's incredible. Rounds is a game from the people at Landfall. They just recently released Peak, which sold like a bazillion copies in 14 hours or something. Rounds is a platformer / like twin stick shooter. It has incredible mod support, and the way I typically play this game is until somebody's PC crashes and the game ends. So you just keep going until like the particle effects are more than the computer can handle.
That's funny.
Void Crew is basically if you like imagine you and 3 of your friends are on the Defiant in Star Trek, and the Defiant's kind of janky and is always breaking, and like you have to man the guns and stuff like that. It's incredible.
You had me, and then you didn't have me.
No. It's good janky.
It's hard. It's hard.
You're getting shot. You're getting blasted. You have to get in and out of these areas. You have missions,
and you
complete.
need friends.
You can do it alone.
You can trust.
You can do it alone, but you got.
It's much better with friends.
Good with friends. And then Grounded is my AAA one that I'm going to put. It's on deep sale right now because Grounded 2 comes out next month, and Grounded 1 is an incredible. It's like a 4-player co-op game where you're your itsy bitsy kids that get shrunk down.
It's like a survival crafting game,
into somebody's backyard though. So like,
but Honey I Shrunk the Kids.
The scariest thing in the world are the wolf spiders that like walk around at night and like.
I like spiders.
They have a.
I will co-sign that game. It is incredible. It's a lot of fun to play with buds.
That's fun. Yeah.
It's on Game Pass too. So anyway, that's it for me.
Willis, did you come up with a list or no?
No, but I have.
Before Willis, I got to go. So I will talk to you guys.
Get out of here, Brad.
Thank you, Brad.
Adios, guys.
Sweet, the boss is leaving finally.
Now we can finally.
All right.
I'm still here.
Oh
Wait a
crap,
second
he's still here.
Hands off.
Run! Oh no, it's just me
There
in
we
the
go. Now
box
it's
now.
gone.
Yeah. Well, kind of like Elena's approach, I do have a list on my wish list. So I usually look at, so if I knowing that there's a Steam sale, I'll look on the wish list first, and then I also look at the sections where they have a deep discount section. So I'll look at those that maybe it's not on my list and I'll add it. So Elena, thank you for the Portal 2 shout out. So I it's not on my list, so now I will buy it maybe.
You should.
I should.
Yeah,
I should. So just real quick, running down on my list, I have some handful of AAA games actually. So Cyberpunk 2077, 65% discount right now at $21. And then I'm a huge fan of the Yakuza series. So it's was it Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth right now, which is a JRPG adventure game. So
Action,
excited to play that. And then I know you have this one, Adam. Persona 5 Tactica. Should I buy it?
Yes. Yeah. The story drug on, unfortunately. But the actual tactics game, like, is super solid. I forgot about that one. That's a good one.
Yeah. Okay, and then this last one, I've been anticipating this. Harold Halibut, which is like that claymation exploration adventure game. The art style looks really unique, and I like claymation, so
nice.
I wanted to play that.
That sounds fun.
Yeah.
Glenn, what have you been playing? You got any game suggestions for these fine folks?
I was actually thinking about this. I don't have like the full list, but 2 games that I definitely played a lot and I think are super, super good. One of them is Deep Rock Galactic. I don't know if you guys have heard of that.
Yeah.
That game is super good. If you like co-op shooters, it's really good. If you like that kind of like, the teamwork is really good in that game too. It's just how the game is designed.
That's the one you can actually like bore through the planet, right?
Like you go in and you go mine stuff, and then the strategy is you have somebody just like drills straight back to like the extraction rocket basically, and you don't have to like go all the way through the cave because it's just faster. And the other thing too is the community is really good. Like it's kind of rare for an online video game where people are really nice to each other.
Yeah.
But people are just like really nice to each other in Deep Rock Galactic. I don't know why, but I never had like problems with lobbies, people being
good.
mean, people are like willing to work together and willing to help each other, which is like crazy.
Yeah. That is awesome.
The other one is Subnautica. If you haven't played already, Subnautica is just a good game.
Freaky.
Very good atmosphere. Very good story. Like it's just those are 2 games for sure.
Fun world to explore.
Yeah, and if anybody in the chat has, I know a lot of people have been commenting on stuff, so yeah, that's awesome. Like, put it in. More suggestions, the better. I have so many games, I might as well just keep buying them that I'm never going to play. So I'm the whale here now. I just essentially am like, I'll see something, I'm like, oh yeah, I want to support the dev. I'll just buy it. I'm not going to play it, but I'm in that point in my life. So cool stuff. And I will be gathering these lists. Everyone please send the list to me on Slack. And I will pin this in a comment on YouTube, and then I'll also post it over on Discord too. So I can, if people weren't following along, I'm not going to like add links or anything like that, but yeah. So good stuff. Let's get into some viewer Q&A. If you have a question right now, at the Full Nerd Podcast in the chat, it's easier to see it that way. If you're watching or listening to this later and you want to get a question to us, the best way to do it is to click the link to Discord in the description. Go over there. They have a channel for Full Nerd questions. And you can put one in at any time, and hopefully we will get to it and ask it on the show here. My first question actually is for one Glenn behind the camera here. One of the things I found out that I was not aware of is that your dad didn't cuss at home, and he would actually get angry at you for cussing as well. That it boggled my mind because
wow,
when Gordon was here, he was just like a fire hose, just spewing it out.
And like the tiniest stuff, he would like drop a pencil and it would be like F-bomb, F-bomb, F-bomb,
yeah,
super F-bomb.
So my question is, did you know he cussed like a sailor at work?
No, and I'm not lying. He really did get mad at people for cussing. I think my mom probably cussed more than my dad at home, which is really weird.
Amazing.
Yeah, I think I've talked about this before though, but like he would only ever swear when he played video games.
Wow.
Basically, or he like dropped something and like he dropped like a glass and it broke and it was like
okay,
F word, like F-bomb. But that was about it. But I played video games with him a few times. And the only game he ever played was World of Warships.
Yeah, we know. Yeah.
Which I'm sure you guys probably know. There's no voice chat, thankfully, in that video game, because I think if there was voice chat, the game would be. Yeah, he was in there like he would go in, he would die, and he'd be like immediately. It's like his keyboard, his keyboard's a little clicky, and I'm sitting right there, and I'm like, dang, Dad, all right.
So would he swear while he was?
Yeah, he would swear. He'd be like, why aren't we pushing up, man? Yeah.
We used to play Battlefield at the office after work before anybody was married, before anybody had kids and all that. So we'd finish work and we'd sit and play Battlefield for like 2 or 3 hours. And that had voice chat, and it was it is really, really good that they didn't ban people for things that you said to people back then. Because he would always get so mad because people wouldn't stay on the point. All you have to do in that game is stay on the point. You park a tank on the point, and then you win. It's really easy. But yeah, anyway.
Well, so because here on the Full Nerd, he very much wanted to keep it family friendly. So we're trying to keep with that tradition as well. But yeah, on Maximum PC podcast, his old job that he also he had a soundboard of stuff. Have you ever went back and listened to any of those episodes and just like heard him go on these rant filled expletives?
Not on the Maximum PC stuff.
Okay.
I've seen some of the videos of like the hardcore, was it the hardcore hardware? Yeah. I've seen hardcore hardware.
He didn't cuss in those though, I don't think.
No, I swear he did.
There were implied curses.
Yeah, and some off-color humor, but
I remember like seeing something maybe he did at Maximum PC and like seeing him like swear like so much. And it was so jarring to see like I guess maybe for you guys it's probably normal, but for me,
that's all we heard.
That's like my dad, It's like my dad is out here like swearing to the internet. Like, what's he doing?
Did your dad have a mustache?
This guy picks me up from school. Like,
I'm just Glenn. Did your dad have a mustache? Maybe your dad is like the evil version of the Gordon we know.
He had the dark Gordon.
No, but he had hair. He had hair for a while. And then the secret is that he shaved it because he didn't want to spend money on haircuts. Which I'm not sure if you guys knew that. Yeah. He had hair for a while at Maximum PC, and then sometime like maybe 2007, 2010.
It was after he got married, but it was after you guys were born.
Yeah,
I just assumed all the hair fell out as a result of having children.
Yeah. he shaved his head, and so he had hair at home for a little bit. But yeah.
Do you feel like you were a good kid?
Ooh, yeah.
What a loaded question.
Well, no, he's implying that he pulled out his hair because of you.
Here's the thing.
And then I'm asking him now, what do you think he was a good kid?
I will absolutely say that Gordon thought he had good kids.
Yeah. No, I know Gordon did.
Yeah,
but I've never asked you. Do you think you were a good kid?
Wow. So the funny story, my dad really liked Calvin and Hobbes.
I can see that.
And I was the kind of kid where if I saw something about like some kid that was around my same age doing some like if I saw like cartoons, I saw like Bugs Bunny. If Bugs Bunny was like a 6-year-old, I'd been like, oh, I could totally do that stuff that Bugs Bunny's doing, And so I read Calvin and Hobbes at one point. My dad was like, you're not going to get the jokes, but whatever. And I read it and I was like, oh, Calvin's also in kindergarten. So I'm going to do the same stuff that Calvin does. And so I did some of the kind of like menace behavior that happens in Calvin and Hobbes. My aunt knows all about it because she had to babysit me and my sister. And I'm sure he heard about it through there. But yeah, to him, I was probably a good kid, but to sometimes in other areas, I probably wasn't the best kid. And I probably blame Calvin and Hobbes for influencing too much.
I met your kindergarten teacher a couple days ago. I should have asked her, as well. Yeah, I'm just kidding. We also have Kelt from Falcon North Swift in the chat.
Hey, Kelt.
I knew Gordon when he had hair. I'm so old.
That was a while ago.
Yeah, that was a while ago. Well, thank you.
Yeah,
I love hearing these funny stories from.
I got one from Discord. A friend of the show, Opius, asks, "Hey, for our new intern here, do you play games with mouse and keyboard or controller?"
Oh,
okay. So
that's a good one.
It depends.
Ooh, I'm surprised by that.
It is. I'm gonna be honest. It is objective that racing games are better on controller.
Yeah,
they
course.
just are.
Yeah.
You know.
I think even your dad admitted
I played Garfield Kart. With my friends for fun, and they all
one
had
or two?
Keyboards. One.
Wait, okay.
How do you
they
know
all
there's
had
two of them?
Because Garfield Kart 2
just
is
the
the
second one,
release.
yeah.
Yeah, it's real good.
Garfield Kart? I have never
Garf Kart? You've
Yeah.
never played Garf Kart?
No, I don't.
Oh,
Garfield
Will.
Kart?
It's a masterpiece. I'm with Glenn on this.
That's
but
hilarious.
yeah, so I would play them in Garfield Kart, and I had a plug-in Xbox 360 controller, and I would use that every time we played Garfield Kart, and I would just destroy everybody in Garfield Kart because I had a controller. And so everything's on PC, but I use a controller for racing games, and that's about it. But like, unless it's a racing game, I'm not using controller because mouse and keyboard is just better, you know?
Would Gordon ever question you? I was like, why are you using a controller? Why not mouse and keyboard?
No, he actually... I got Forza 4, I think, at one point. And I didn't have a controller, and I was trying it on mouse and keyboard, and he was actually like, "Why are you using mouse and keyboard to play Forza? Like, just use a controller, like it's better." And I was like, "Okay."
See, I would have thought he went to the extreme end and be like, "Hey, let's get a full, racing wheel set up with the pedals and everything." He's like,
Look, when we played either Desert Combat or Battlefield 2, he would set up a flight stick and throttle to fly the helicopters because he's like, it's the only way you can fly the helicopters. You can't do this with the mouse and keyboard. You wouldn't use a gamepad though. That would have been crazy.
That does actually, I just connected some dots because I used to work for Official Xbox Magazine, and so I had a bunch of extra Xbox 360 controllers, wired ones, and he came to me at least once, if not twice, and said, "Hey, do you have any extras that I could have?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure."
Yeah, why would you need those?
And I was surprised,
probably,
and now I
yeah.
understand. It's so that the family could make use of it.
Also, do you know why he hated the Switch and all these other handheld gaming PCs?
I don't.
See, because he was always so excited about new technology, like pushing forward, right? And so when the Steam Deck came out, I was just like, dude, you got to check this out. Like, this thing performs. It's a PC that performs really well and is handheld, but tacked onto it are controllers. So that was why, because it was just really built in. And he's like, well, I don't want to touch it.
How did he feel about the Lenovo one with the detachable controller?
See, I think he liked that one. Yeah. Yeah. And that's when
had
it
that
started.
pistol mouse.
Yeah.
That's what everybody
Consistent.
wants.
And then that's when it started being like, he was like, I was like, oh, okay, that's why you don't like these handhelds, is because it literally has something that you hate built in.
That makes sense.
I get it. One last question. Actually, I'm going to save this one. I got one last one for you that we're going to save towards the end. We got somebody new in the Discord. Sorry, I'm reading it on my phone because I realized I don't have it on my Chromebook.
Discord on your Chromebook?
Yeah, not yet. MX Kiggy says that it's really interesting to hear your varying exposures to Chromebook. I am 20, and in my classrooms, Windows 8 and 10 were the main platform. 8, I'm so sorry. But Chromebook was starting to become a thing. I get the sense that during the pandemic, they absolutely took off in the educational space. Everyone in the lower grades didn't have personal devices yet. Were provided them, including members. How do you think the broad exposure of Chrome OS over other platforms and people entering the economy over the next 10 to 15 years will affect how trends change or the direction of advancement? I'll say I feel like we've already kind of seen this because a lot of educational stuff, at least during my time, was Mac-based, right? Mm-hmm. You'd go to the computer.
Are you saying Chromebooks and Macs are the same?
Well, no, I think that they're trying to supplant early in kids, right? Yeah. They're trying to be in the spaces where they would grow up with it, and that was my exposure to Macs was usually through a computer lab, or later in college, during like when I was like, oh, there's like I'm taking artistic kind of stuff. Then you know like Macs are really good for artistic stuff, you know. And then I got my first Mac when I went to audio engineering school, so like I feel like maybe this is kind of the same way of like, hey, you know what, let's get embedded in education and show people like, hey, if you're just looking for basic computing platform, Chromebook, you know, it can still be good. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I mean, it's also for Google, it was a market that they could get into, right? Like it's a place where cheap, sturdy computers are a real benefit. And they were going to have a hard time getting into corporate stuff because, you know, corporate big companies have their own infrastructure, software infrastructure and stuff like that. They don't want to rewrite all those applications. Whereas a lot of schools were already using Google Classrooms and we're paying Google for that every year. And I think that Kiggy nailed it. I think that the adoption, I think school systems used a lot of their pandemic hardship money to buy Chromebooks to give kids that were doing remote learning who didn't have laptops.
Yeah.
So,
well, yeah. Elena, what do you think?
About which part of it?
Just the like how is a Chrome OS going to affect this, you know, these up and coming generation who have used it more heavily than us?
I mean, I can't say for sure because I think we're probably another 5 to 10 years out to see how it really is affecting people who started with it when they were like in elementary school and how natural and innate that feels to them. I mean, I also think that with the exposure with all the other hardware still out there, I mean, you and I grew up as like the Oregon Trail generation, right? But I'm not a Mac person. I mean, True. iMacs, the candy colored iMacs were ubiquitous on college campuses still, like when we were around. And again, still not a Mac person. So you can do that placement. You can have people used to it, but everyone's going to have their preferences. So I'm just going to throw it out there and say that no generation is a monolith, but we'll see how it goes. I think the more interesting thing for me is to see how Chromebooks will affect what people expect from software in terms of simplicity and how applications run and not having to think about like cross-platform compatibility and things like that. I feel like that's going to be more of the lingering effect than being attached to a specific platform or hardware.
Well, and stuff like the kids not knowing how to use file systems, right?
Yes. So so people 10 years younger than me, I would say they were familiar with Chromebooks. I had a colleague who had a Chromebook because it was something that she could afford in college, but I wouldn't say she was attached to it. But she still knew what a save icon represented. I know someone who's 20 years younger than me, and we had to sit her down and explain to her the whole like background of what the save concept was, and then what the icon stood for, and then what actually, you know, why that was a technological marvel at the time. And it's just, she had no concept. So yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of things where a lot of like the iconography, the symbols that we see, that we as people who were part of when that technology was still available or even modern, we understand what the origin of it is. And I think for some like younger people, it's going to like be just, you know, oh, that just means this, but they don't really understand the origin of where it comes from or what it actually stands for. And I think that's gonna give me multiple small wow, I'm old moments when I'm much older.
When your kid comes to you and is like, hey, I want to learn how to I want to get Minecraft Java so I can do mods, that's your entry point to teaching them about how computers really work, because like they have to understand how the file system works and all this stuff to install the mods and manage them before you let them have access to the tools that do that for them.
Willis, have you ever used a Chromebook? Actually, I don't know this.
I have not.
No, not at all. Do you know the concept of how it works?
Yeah, basics, yeah.
Glenn, have you used Chromebooks?
Yeah, I use them in middle and high school for a lot of assignments.
What do you think the temperature is then, since you actually used it in school?
In terms of
like, do you think people look at it as like, I use that in school, that's just junk, or do you think like it's actually going to affect, your generation?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of my friends in middle school were like, the gamer nerds, so we all had like pretty decent computers at home, and so we're like, what are these like keyboards with a screen, I think probably in the future I could see it. If you grow up like only knowing Chromebooks, then I could see you're like adjusted to it. But in terms of like my generation, I think a lot of people they don't see it as like an upgrade is going from some Dell laptop to a Chromebook. They don't see that as an upgrade.
Dude,
they see it as like a downgrade.
Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah. Well, next question. Linux. Have you ever tried Linux? What do you think of Linux?
No, but I know a lot of people. I know some people in my school, and they swear by Linux.
Okay, what were those kids like?
Yeah, were they huge nerds?
yeah.
So the one kid that I
you don't have to out anybody, I guess, but
one kid that I do know who is a math major. I'll not name any names.
Boy,
he's a math major.
Oh,
he's a double major math and German major, and he's like. I go to community college. He transfers. He's a year younger than me. He's transferring to Berkeley next year, and he did like 1 year of CC, and he took like 6 classes. He's like crazy nerd, right? He wears like baggy jeans, a hoodie, and then he wears slides, and I'm like, come on.
Is he running like a Gentoo compiling his own kernel? What's he doing? What's the?
I don't know the specifics.
What a nerd!
Yeah,
what
but
a huge nerd.
He definitely. I took a class in Java, and he would just show up, and he was like, "Yeah, I know this stuff because I had to set up my Linux computer I took in high school." And I was like, why are you even here, man? Like,
it's easy credit, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually.
No,
okay,
he wasn't even in the
smart.
class.
He wasn't even in the class. He was just hanging out.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well,
Amazing.
Was he just there to say actually?
the yes. Okay, that's funny. Well, thank you for your insight.
Amazing.
That is good. Come on, and we'll get out of here. Okay. Sneaky, friend of the show, Sneaky Remastered. I don't know how they got the remastered. Maybe they're now in full path tracing. 2025 second half. Wait, are we already? Oh, you're right. Wow. We're Dang, we're halfway through the year.
The second half of the year.
Goodness. Okay, Rage Pony prediction. Elena, you got any predictions for Outrage for the rest of the year? What's going to happen that people are going to get angry about?
Ooh. I don't. I mean, are we looking for new things, or do we think?
What do you think?
Are we just naming anything?
Anything that you're going to see a YouTube headline. With a rage
Waste
fist.
of Sand.
Okay, but specifically around what?
Too many fake frames. Gosh.
I can come back to you. Will,
I think you should, because I feel like this year is really weird.
Yeah. What do you predict?
I think people are going to be upset about tariffs in the back half of this year.
Yeah. And they're not already?
I think we've just tasted the pain of tariffs. Yeah, I think we're about to bathe in the tariffs.
I think people are going to really yell at the sky when Intel announces a refresh of Arrow Lake for the desktop.
Yeah, I think anything Intel or NVIDIA announces is going to get yelled at. I mean, realistically.
Do you think NVIDIA has anything else the rest of the year?
We're going to see.
Well, we talked about there are rumors of a super refresh, but that would be unprecedented to like launch a 50 series generation in the beginning of the year and then have the super refresh at the end of the year.
They've never had one.
They've never had one
that people were calling waste of sand before the product even shipped.
Are you sure about that? Yeah, I don't know. 20 series, man. I don't know.
Let's put it this way. I think if AMD or Intel, and I don't have high confidence in it, but if AMD or Intel were to release something new this year, then I could see NVIDIA doing something to distract from the launches, because that's right out of their playbook.
I mean, I think realistically it's an 18-month cycle before they start. Like we'd see something at CES probably at the earliest, right? If they're going to do supers.
Yeah,
even that seems early.
That seems really early, because they have so much stock right now of what they just launched. Well, like, they got to get through that.
And the thing is, they're not going to stop selling the thing. Like, Yeah, I don't know. I think people are just going to keep being pissed at everything. I think literally they're just they got their blood angried up.
I do have something that I know I will be outrage ponying over.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Turn the chair.
Yeah. Here we go.
I have to turn the chair.
No.
Yeah. I am actually very unhappy about the coming change from a blue screen of death to a black screen of death. And I know that there are so many people who are just shrugging and saying, "What's the big deal?"
What's the big deal, Lena?
Do you know how hard it is to do remote tech support with people who can't really do video calls and just show you what they're seeing or like take pictures well? So they're trying to describe everything to you over audio. And it's so much easier when you can say, "Hey, is there a blue screen? Is there a gigantic unhappy face on it?" Okay, I know what it is. On the left hand of the screen, I want you to read this to me. Now, if there is a black screen, I have to ask, do you mean there's a black screen? There's nothing on the screen? There's no video output? Wait, okay, you don't know what video output means. Okay, do you see any pictures on the screen? You have to go through that. And then it's like, oh, okay, if there are words on the screen, what does it, see, Will's shaking his head. He knows exactly what I'm talking about.
You just need to buy these people an iPad and tear the PC away.
I need to buy the Chromebooks.
Yeah.
I need to buy the Chromebooks.
Yeah.
That's what I'm anticipating, and I'm very unhappy about it. So I will outrage pony about that at some point, most likely.
Well, let's turn this positive. We have a related question from friend of the show, Agent Bird Nest. We are halfway through the year. What has been the most exciting PC component or accessory in the first half of 2025? What have you seen so far this year that you
first
were excited?
half of 2025?
Yeah.
Huh.
Elena, you got anything?
Okay, are we talking about in terms of for the industry and technology, or just something I'm excited for
something
myself?
you're excited about. Yeah. Like, oh man, I this thing came out the first half of this year, and I
want that bubble case, man.
Oh, what is it? The height?
The height curved top?
X50.
X50. Yeah. You are genuinely chomping at the bit to build that.
I will make a small correction to myself. I said that it had kind of a cottagecore aesthetic. I didn't quite use the right term because cottagecore is a little bit more like naturey. I do think it could fit into that vibe depending on how you incorporated it. But I think it touches more on the whole general like cute, round, like aesthetic.
The aesthetic vibe?
I'm not going there, Will. We don't have enough time to get into that debate today. It's like things that you'll see from Asia. So maybe I'm just the perfect target audience for this because, those when the people make those like rounded edge, like cute, like bubble tea stickers or other accessories, like I'm all into that too. So this just makes me happy. I love the red one. I really want the red one. It's so uncommon to see colorways or like color options that they're going to be offering. But I also kind of dig the white one because you have the mesh like holes. I think it would be fun to see how it would look if you did like a rainbow build. So like if you just did a bunch of RGB lights, but like rainbow colors, but you have that kind of coming through and it like bouncing off the white inside the case, but you can still see it coming through the mesh holes. I think that could be a fun effect, but I don't know. Anyway, I am personally excited for that. It's been a while since I've built a PC.
Will, what have you been excited about?
I was looking through my like what I've bought so far.
There's a new HDMI spec that just got released.
Yeah, no, I don't care about that. I'm fine.
Yeah. You got to upgrade all the HDMI cables now.
I think the thing I've enjoyed the most is actually the stuff that they've done with the Stream Deck software, like the virtual buttons that they added. I think they're in a beta update right now, so you can have on-screen buttons as well. The way that the app works now, and the fact that you can just pay them once and get as many buttons as you want for your Elgato Stream Deck app, if you want to just have it on like a stand in front of your computer. It's real, like they're doing some real interesting stuff with that whole platform, and I'm excited to see what comes next, I guess. Like, if you want a real hardware answer, I guess it's that FrameGen doesn't suck anymore.
That's not a hardware.
Well, but you need the new hardware.
You got question mark at the end of it.
I mean, like
has the potential not to suck.
The 5 series multi-frame gen with all of their frame staggering stuff at the end makes frame gen something I actually turn on now. So
okay,
I love those fake frames. Just get at me in the comments. My name's
Willis?
Adam Patrick Murray.
yeah. Willis, anything that you've seen that's released this year that you're excited?
No, just no excitement. All outrage.
Oh,
all
dang.
outrage.
Always be outraging.
Always be outraging.
Yeah. Glenn, have you seen any new hardware release that you were excited about?
Not really. What I thought was kind of crazy was, I guess this isn't really 2024, is it? It's probably it's probably 2024, not 25. But there was like a monitor that would like show you. It would like when you're playing video games, it'll like give you alerts and stuff, and it'll like be like your second eye.
Was that MSI? I think that was
I think
MSI.
so.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, I think that was CES last year.
That was a little crazy because that was like the one thing with PCs. It's hard to cheat using hardware, and like the only way you can cheat in consoles is like by using hardware.
Glenn. What are you trying to do over here, Glenn?
But,
we don't condone cheating. But hey, good point. That brings me to mine. I got a couple. I guess being able to like try out a 4K 240 hertz OLED.
Oh, that's pretty nice.
Monitor.
Yeah, that was pretty nice.
Wow. I mean, granted, I was not coming from like amazing monitor technology, but like that
it didn't matter.
That blew my socks off. So that was pretty crazy.
That looks so good. It convinced my wife that I should buy one.
There you go. Yeah, and when your wife says sign me up, then go for it. You don't even ask questions.
Like, yes,
you
ma'am.
just buy it. Yeah. My wife said I should, and then also scented thermal paste. Come on.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
But I need to try it. I still need to
makes
repaste my rig at home and try it out. So, all right, very last question. This one's for Glenn. You're gonna get us out of here. Friend of the show, Datus asks, Glenn, which is the better movie?
Oh no,
Alien or Aliens?
Okay, guys, I'm gonna be honest. I haven't seen either. Yeah, I know. It's kind of crazy, right? It's kind of crazy.
I knew this was where it was going to go. That really old movie, Alien? Yeah, no, here you go.
But my dad loved it. I know he talked a lot about it. But I think
he did.
Yeah,
the main thing was we would only watch movies together as a family if everybody could kind of watch it. And I think Aliens and Alien weren't really like the movies we could watch together as a family. And it was definitely more like my dad was like, Glenn, I really want to show you this movie, but he never got around to it. But I've seen the Star Trek movies. I've seen all of Star Wars.
All right. Well, what's your favorite Trek of the original Trek? Not the redo and stuff. We're not going to talk about that.
The movies?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember very specifically Wrath of Khan.
Oh yeah.
The scene where they're in the nebula and Kirk like sneaks up on him. I remember that. I really liked that scene. And I also remember Voyage Home, mainly because it was in San Francisco, and we live in the Bay. So I was like, oh, it's San Francisco,
Looking for Alameda.
Yeah.
The naval base.
Follow-up question to that. Did he let you watch the original motion picture as part of the set?
Yeah, Star Trek 1, the very first movie.
I don't think so.
It's got the lady with the bald head.
I don't think I ever saw it. I just
you knew
I've
he
only
didn't
seen
know.
Yeah, of
I
course.
saw Wrath of Khan, and I was like, I think I remember thinking like, do I need to see like the other ones for this to make sense? He's like, no, you don't. You need to see it. Just watch this movie.
Well, listen, Glenn. If you ever want to come over, hang out. We'll make some popcorn. I got a nice big TV. We'll watch Alien and Aliens and the first Star Trek.
I'm missing out on some like big like nerd movies right here.
Yeah. We'll get you caught up.
You got some holes. You got some gaps. We all have gaps, Adam.
Hey, it's okay. It's okay.
But then he's gonna have to take sides after he watches, and I don't know we can do
that's
that
okay.
to him.
No. That's okay. I would love for him to watch Alien and Aliens, and come out and be like, hey, you know what? Actually, this is the better movie. So just so you know.
Gordon really loved Alien a lot.
Well,
Don't
taint. But we had a long-running debate about which one was better, and it was something we would always ask people who come on the show. So I had to ask you to end it. So yeah, we'll watch it.
Wow.
Yeah. Anyway, that wraps up this show. Check back next week for your fix of PC talk here on the Full Nerd. To subscribe to us and listen to us on the go, you can go over to Pocket Casts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube Music, Deezer, anywhere that you can point your iHeartRadio. Is that? Yeah. Is it? Can you do podcasts? Are we on
iHeartRadio?
I think we are. We're gonna do a quick check here.
The Full Nerd.
So anywhere you point your RSS reader to, we should be there.
We're on
iHeartRadio. There you go.
Yeah.
And also, if you didn't know, we have a very lovely newsletter that comes out weekly.
It is a great newsletter.
Weekly, and you can sign up for it at PCWorld.com/newsletters with an S /sign up. And you will get a newsletter delivered hot and fresh to your inbox, written by one Elena Yee.
Hello, it's me.
Yep, she did it. She puts the words on the paper, and then she feeds the paper into the computer that scans it, and then it sends it out over the internet.
That's a great tie-in, because last week, so the format of the newsletter currently is that I do a little recap of the episode, not all of it, so you do have to watch the whole episode to get every single bit of its goodness. But I also have a link section of things that I found interesting over the past week, and one of them that actually infuriated me was that apparently Anthropic destroyed millions of print books to build out its AI models. So they just bought a ton of print books, like ripped them up, scanned them, fed them in, and just like chucked all of it.
Thanks,
which
AI.
Just hurts.
Ouch.
Look, this is a plot of a Werner Vinge novel.
Okay.
Rainbow's End. It's a fantastic Werner Vinge novel about shredding books to scan them destructively.
Is it really?
Yeah, and AR also.
Oh. Huh.
Yeah, it's.
I thought you were just making a joke.
No, 100%. Everybody should read it. Werner Vinge is great.
Werner Vinge.
Werner Vinge.
But there's also fun stuff in there. Like apparently, the good people over supporting different Linux distros added support after 30 years for a Sound Blaster ISA sound card.
Woo! Oh yeah,
now
we can finally build a PC.
Yeah,
yeah.
That's hilarious.
I was like, I literally had one of those meme moments where I was like, ISA. There's a name I haven't heard in years.
It was the original. It was the original Sound Blaster, wasn't it? The first Sound Vault one.
So, if not that, one of the very early models.
Yeah, it was. That was a cool story.
Yeah. So it's a lot of goodness. Also, while I've got y'all listening, one of friends of our show let us know that they didn't get the notification for the Full Nerd podcast going live today. So if you're listening and you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're already subscribed, go ahead and make sure that your notifications are set to all so that you do get the heads up.
Yeah, smash that bell. Crack it like the Liberty Bell and sign up for the newsletter. Great stuff. Thank you all. You've been amazing. I'm going to go down the list here. Elena, you've also been amazing. Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Brad was too.
Brad was definitely amazing,
fine.
but he's not here to speak for himself, so I'm not going to put words in his mouth. Will.
Yeah, hey,
amazing as always. That's your middle name, right? Will, amazing as always, Smith.
Well, actually, Will's my middle name, but amazing as always is my first name.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, this is a long name.
Yeah, I mean,
speaking of long names, Willis Lai is gonna take us out of here. Thank you for controlling the verticals, horizontals, and Glenn, thanks for stopping by. Glad to have you here and hear all your fun stories. Yeah.
Thank you guys for having me.
And we'll get out of here. Thank you guys. We'll see you next week. Bye bye.
Thank you, everyone. We'll see you later. Bye.